Yo, Atlas speaking, and welcome to part 2 of What If I Was Reincarnated into Naruto as the blind shinobi of the main branch Hyuga clan. Let the tale begin. Chapter 31. Upon learning that Jirioku had been attacked by members of Root for refusing to accompany them to meet Danzo, Shikaku and the others were not taken aback. Such incidents were not uncommon, and it was characteristic of Danzo's modus operandi. However, their anger flared when they discovered that their own children had been implicated in the affair. Hokage-sama must provide us with an explanation. This is utterly unacceptable, Shikaku exclaimed. But if we reveal the truth, won't Jirioku also be implicated for killing the Root members? Inoichi pondered. Jirioku had no knowledge of Danzo's identity, and since he was attacked by Root operatives, he was well within his rights to defend himself by eliminating the threat, Shikaku justified. A major commotion ensued when all the children of the clan heads belonging to the Inoshikacho family were admitted to the hospital. Consequently, all the clan heads of Inoshikacho convened in one location. It was inconceivable to keep such an event hidden from the Hokage, who promptly ordered an investigation. Before the ANBU ninjas could arrive and summon Shikaku, Inoichi, and Choza, the three of them were already observed heading towards the Hokage's office. Meanwhile, Danzo received news of his subordinate's demise and learned about the Inoshikacho's situation. The report he received regarding his subordinate's deaths indicated the presence of 3 additional individuals accompanying Jirioku. Danzo quickly connected the dots and deduced that it must have been those children who were with Jirioku. It was widely known that Ino often accompanied Jirioku, fostering a close relationship with children from the Nara and Akimichi families. Without delay, Danzo rose from his seat and made his way to the Hokage building, fully aware that the clan heads of Inoshikacho would undoubtedly seek an audience with Hiruzen. Inside the Hokage's office, Hiruzen patiently awaited the arrival of the Inoshikacho trio, having received word that they were on their way to meet him at the Hokage building. Finally, a knock echoed through the door, prompting Hiruzen to warmly invite, "Come in." Shikaku, Inoichi, and Choza entered the Hokage's office, their countenances not only lacking joy but also reflecting a palpable anger. Standing before Hiruzen, their collective presence intrigued him, as he couldn't fathom what could have caused such discontent among them. "You appear to be quite upset. Could it be related to your children?" inquired Hiruzen, unable to think of any other reason that would cause such unhappiness among them. Just as Shikaku was about to speak, the door to the Hokage's office swung open rudely, without any regard for permission from Hiruzen. All heads turned in that direction to behold the entrance of Danzo. The sight of Danzo visibly stirred anger on the faces of Choza and Inoichi, yet they maintained their composure, mindful of the fact that they were in the presence of the Hokage. Hiruzen astutely observed this behavior, swiftly comprehending that Danzo must have had a hand in whatever had transpired. "Danzo, how many times must I remind you to knock before entering my office?" admonished Hiruzen to Danzo, shaking his head at the latter's disregard for proper protocol. Hiruzen then turned his attention to Shikaku and uttered, "So, you were about to say something?" "Yes, Hokage-sama. It goes like this." Shikaku proceeded to provide a detailed account of the events that had unfolded, emphasizing that Jirioku had no knowledge of Danzo and his Root organization. "We are not concerned about anything else, but Mr. Danzo's actions negatively impacting our children is absolutely unacceptable," Shikaku continued. Hiruzen turned his gaze towards Danzo and sternly questioned, "What do you mean, Danzo, by attacking Jirioku and his friends? Are you not aware that attacking a fellow villager is a crime?" Danzo's expression remained calm, unaffected by Hiruzen's words, and his only response was, "Everything I do is for the sake of Konoha. Such behavior, attacking your own villagers, is unacceptable. As of today, you will be relieved of your position as the leader of Root, and your Root members will be integrated into the ANBU," declared Hiruzen. Danzo clenched his fist in anger, feeling the suppression from Hiruzen whenever an opportunity arose. "Humph. Hiruzen, everything I do is for the sake of Konoha, and you know it," he retorted. "I will not entertain any further discussion on this matter," replied Hiruzen in a cold tone. At that moment, the gate of the Hokage's office swung open, and an ANBU ninja entered, accompanied by Jirioku. Jirioku walked in and stood before the Hokage. Hiruzen addressed him. "Jirioku, did you kill a few ninjas a few moments ago?" "Yes, they wanted to take me to meet the so-called true protector of Konoha and belittled the Hokage in comparison to Danzo," replied Jirioku. Hiruzen's anger flared as he looked at Danzo. "Did they say that?" he asked, his tone filled with frustration. "They didn't explicitly mention the second part, but when I questioned them about Danzo being the real protector, they showed disdain towards the Hokage. While they didn't exhibit any emotions towards anyone else, they had blind faith in Danzo." "It's unimaginable how someone can be brainwashed to such an extent," explained Jirioku. Hiruzen was seething with anger upon hearing Jirioku's words. He had previously punished Danzo as a formality, but now he was determined to truly punish him. Just as Hiruzen was contemplating his course of action, he heard Jirioku's voice. "The person sitting next to the Hokage exudes a murderous intent. If we weren't in the Hokage's office, I would have killed you. Humph. A brat like you dares to teach me a lesson." Danzo began to rise from his seat, but Jirioku tapped the floor of the Hokage's office with his sword, unleashing a powerful gravity that forced Danzo back into his seat. "Lower your voice. You are in the presence of the Hokage," warned Jirioku. Danzo's face contorted with displeasure. Though he resisted the gravity by utilizing his chakra, being silenced by a young upstart left him feeling humiliated. "Jirioku, release him," commanded Hiruzen. "I apologize for my abrupt behavior, Hokage-sama," said Jirioku as he lifted the gravity's effect from Danzo. Chapter 32. I believe I have thoroughly explained everything, so may I request your permission to leave now, Hokage-sama? I have been traveling and fighting throughout the entire day, and I would greatly appreciate some rest, Jirioku expressed, his fatigue evident in his voice. With a reassuring tone, Hiruzen responded, "Certainly, you are free to go. Your actions were purely acts of self-defense, and it's important to recognize that you were completely unaware of the identities of the root ninjas. Therefore, you are not at fault." Expressing gratitude, Jirioku nodded and said, "Thank you, Hokage-sama." With that, he made his way out of the Hokage's office, eager to find solace in much-needed rest. Hiruzen turned his attention to the Inoshikacho trio and spoke empathetically. "While I cannot change the events that have already taken place, there happen to be a few establishments owned by the Shimura clan. I believe Danzo would be willing to offer those to you as compensation from his side." He glanced towards Danzo and asked, "Isn't that right?" Danzo simply nodded, silently affirming Hiruzen's words. "Thank you for your judgment, Hokage-sama." Inoshikacho expressed their gratitude before leaving the Hokage's office, relieved and appreciative of the resolution provided. After Inoshikacho left the Hokage's office and had traveled a short distance away, all three of them came to a halt. It was at this moment that Shikaku spoke up, saying, "It was clearly evident that Danzo would not receive any significant punishment. However, what we have obtained is more than sufficient for us. I wasn't even expecting this much." "Yes, you're right. I believe the Hokage must be angered by Jirioku's remarks regarding the root ninjas," Inoichi agreed. Both of you are correct. I think it's imperative for us to keep a close watch on Jirioku from now on. Danzo may attempt to attack him since we are well aware of Danzo's character and his modus operandi. While he wasn't successful this time, he will likely be better prepared and launch a more calculated attack next time, Choza stated. This would have certainly been the case if it were a situation from the past. However, we must consider the aftermath of the Uchiha massacre, which resulted in Danzo losing a significant number of his root ninjas. As a result, it is highly probable that he will allocate his resources towards training and reinforcing the remaining members of his organization. Knowing Danzo's meticulous nature, he never underestimates anyone and always remains prepared for unexpected circumstances. Interestingly, that is the one aspect about him that I find commendable, Shikaku elaborated, his tone reflecting his insightful analysis. As Shikaku's words resonated with the others, they nodded in agreement, understanding the logic and strategic thinking behind Danzo's potential actions. Very well then, let us proceed to meet our children and inform our wives that the perpetrator responsible for attacking our precious ones has been justly dealt with. It is crucial to ensure our wives' peace of mind, for we know all too well that they will not let us hear the end of it otherwise, Shikaku suggested, a hint of concern flickering across his face. Observing this, both Choza and Inoichi erupted into laughter, and Shikaku, too, joined in from the sidelines, the camaraderie among the trio evident in their shared amusement. From their discussions, it became evident that they held a strong sense of camaraderie and considered Jurioku as one of their own. This sentiment stemmed from the deep bond between their children and Jurioku. The next morning at the Ninja Academy, just outside the classroom, a group of children had gathered. Standing at the center of the group was Lee, a wry smile adorning his face. Just a few minutes prior, he had been sharing with Tintin and Niji what he had heard from his teacher. True to his usual style, Lee spoke with a booming voice that caught the attention of the children around him. Intrigued by his words, they surrounded him, bombarding him with questions, questioning the validity of his claims. How could I possibly lie about something like this? I assure you, my teacher, the esteemed Blue Beast of Konoha, my guy, an elite jonin, imparted this knowledge to me, Lee proudly proclaimed, introducing his teacher to the curious crowd. They had many thoughts and opinions they wanted to express, but a collective silence fell upon them, driven by fear of what might happen if Jurioku were to discover their discussions behind his back. The reputation and image Jurioku had cultivated during his time at the Ninja Academy instilled a sense of uncertainty among his peers, leaving them unsure of the consequences they might face. As it was still morning and class had yet to begin, a crowd of students gathered, their curiosity piqued by the commotion and discussions unfolding. Among the students present, Sasuke was also there. Upon hearing Lee's words and witnessing the crowd's fervent conversation, Sasuke withdrew from the gathering, his fist clenched tightly as he muttered to himself, "This is the strength I need." That man must have possessed similar strength during his own time at Jurioku's age. No, I cannot waste my time here. I must also graduate swiftly so that I can accelerate my own growth and become as strong as he is. Chapter 33. After leaving the gathering, Sasuke promptly made his way to find his Chunin teacher, Irika. Irika happened to be occupied with some tasks inside the staff room when Sasuke approached him. Startled, Irika couldn't help but notice Sasuke's presence, knowing all too well the underlying disdain that Sasuke harbored towards him. Despite Sasuke's attempts to conceal his feelings or refrain from explicitly revealing them, his disdain for Irika, stemming from Irika's civilian background, had always been evident. "What do you need from me, Sasuke?" asked Irika, curious about the reason for Sasuke's visit. "I want to apply for early graduation," Sasuke stated straightforwardly. Irika was taken aback by Sasuke's words, his surprise evident in his response. "And what has prompted you to have such thoughts?" inquired Irika. "I want to become strong, and I can't achieve that by staying in the Ninja Academy. The Academy no longer has anything to offer me in terms of learning, so I strongly desire to graduate early," Sasuke declared with unwavering determination. "Is that so, or perhaps you were inspired by someone and wish to graduate early like him?" Irika questioned, seeking further understanding. Sasuke remained silent, choosing not to respond to Irika's query. It appears my assumption may be correct. However, you must remember that Jurioku didn't simply graduate without merit. He earned his graduation by defeating a Chunin in a one-on-one battle, Irika explained, emphasizing the significance of Jurioku's achievement. "I can do that too," Sasuke asserted confidently. "Is that so? Well then, why don't you prove it? I am also a Chunin, so if you can defeat me in a fight, I will personally approach Hokage-sama and request your early graduation," Irika proposed, offering Sasuke an opportunity to demonstrate his skills. After listening to Irika's words, Sasuke turned around and began making his way towards the training grounds. His intention was to engage in a battle with Irika, defeat him, and ultimately graduate. However, before he could reach the training grounds, Irika halted him and suggested, "Why bother going to the training ground when we can settle this right here, right now?" "As you wish," Sasuke responded, withdrawing his shuriken and preparing to strike at Iruka at any given moment. "Alright then, you may attack first," Iruka declared, ready to face Sasuke's offensive move. As soon as Iruka's voice faded, Sasuke swiftly hurled the shurikens in his hands. While these shurikens may have posed a challenge for other students in Sasuke's class, they proved no match for him as a skilled Chunin. He effortlessly deflected the incoming attacks. However, Sasuke had employed these shurikens merely as distractions. Seizing the opportunity, he closed in on Iruka, clutching a kunai with determination, intending to engage him in close combat. Observing Sasuke's approach, Iruka swiftly took out his own kunai, effortlessly countering Sasuke's assault. For several intense moments, the clash of metal filled the air. Eventually, Iruka skillfully repelled Sasuke's advances, gaining the upper hand. He swiftly positioned his kunai at Sasuke's neck, declaring, "You have lost. You will not be granted early graduation. Focus on your studies, and you will graduate in due time." Although Jiraiya graduated early, his graduation was well-deserved. He thoroughly defeated the Chunin without giving him a chance to retaliate. "I assume you must have heard about his recent achievements," stated Iruka. "I don't mean to discourage you, but some individuals are born with inherent superiority. In our village, there have been those who graduated at the age of 6. Instead of feeling disheartened, focus on working hard." Sasuke simply nodded in response and departed. Similarly, Neji also aspired to graduate early but was prevented by Hayashi. Hayashi was already burdened with a headache following the news of what had transpired with Jiraiya during his mission, which had been disclosed by the Ino Shikacho families and the Hokage's office. However, he was powerless in altering the situation, and the Hyuga clan had to endure the consequences. At that moment, outside his house, Jiraiya was engrossed in his practice. His hands were coated in a substance resembling purple ink, armament hockey, and within his grasp formed a radiant blue sphere. Upon closer inspection, one would notice intermittent white lines within the sphere. Someone as astute as Kakashi, if present, would readily identify this as wind chakra infused into the blue sphere. Indeed, this blue sphere was none other than the Rasengan, and Jiraiya was endeavoring to master the wind release, Rasen Shuriken. Gradually, the Rasengan began to diminish in size until it eventually dissipated. Jiraiya promptly lowered himself to the ground, breathing heavily and muttering under his breath. The amount of chakra required for this technique is immense, not to mention the added challenge of infusing it with wind nature chakra. If I manage to fully master it and utilize it, it will consume nearly half of my current chakra reserves. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about it. As I age, my chakra capacity will naturally increase, albeit at an exponential rate. Following his recovery, Jiraiya resumed his training, determined to continue practicing the technique until he achieved complete mastery. Chapter 34. For the next few days, Jiraiya didn't go anywhere except Ichiraku Ramen Shop to eat ramen and get the ingredients for the next day. This continued for nearly 2 weeks. As an independent ninja, no one bothered him to go on a mission, so he continued his training. It took him around 4 days to balance the wind nature chakra with Rasengan, even though he used shadow clones for assistance. However, he wasn't able to master it quickly like Naruto because he didn't possess Naruto's immense chakra and vitality. Despite this, he was content with his progress. After mastering Rasen Shuriken, an S-level ninjutsu, it took him another 2 days. He didn't stop there though, he continued to master the Vanishing Rasengan. It took him nearly 8 days to achieve mastery. He had to continuously use the Rasengan to find the correct amount of Thunder Chakra nature. Being blind, he employed a clever method. He searched for animals in the Death Forest and used the Rasengan on them to test if it vanished. Just like the previous day when he mastered the Vanishing Rasengan, the animal was initially fearful upon seeing the Rasengan. However, as it approached, the Rasengan vanished, leaving the animal relieved. Suddenly, it reappeared in front of the animal, causing it to feel fear again. After experimenting numerous times and confirming it with Ino, the results were as he expected. For Ino, it was like witnessing a captivating magic trick, a phenomenon that materialized, vanished, and then re-emerged once more. After Juryoku mastered the desired ninjutsu, he began taking missions with higher rewards. As time passed, he also became involved in the black market. News about him spread, and all of his known abilities were disclosed to the other major villages. As a result, many villages attempted to assassinate him, but they consistently failed, despite his constant solitude. This caused his name to reverberate throughout the ninja world, and he became known as Raijin no Juryoku, which meant Thunder God's gravity. 3 years later, following his mastery of Wind-style Rasenshuriken and Vanishing Rasengan the previous year, Niji and Rock Lee graduated from the Ninja Academy. In the present year, Naruto and others also graduated from the academy. Somewhere in the land of Rice, within the city's most prominent and largest mansion, a man with a burly build sat on the main seat, while a few of his confidants sat around him. General, it appears that the daimyo has requested the assistance of the Jokin of the Fire Country, one of the general's confidants reported. What can a 16-year-old girl do, even if she possesses the ability to vie for the daimyo's throne? She is merely a princess and nothing more, the general responded, his disdain evident on his face. Yes, but it is said that she has a very powerful ally, Raijin no Juryoku. It is rumored that this person's strength rivals that of Akatya from one of the villages, the confidant continued. However powerful he may be, is he more formidable than my army of 3,000 people? The general responded, his disdain evident on his face. But you haven't witnessed the true power of Akatya-level ninja. They are the embodiment of destruction, especially for our small countries, the confidant insisted, attempting to make the general understand the gravity of the situation, recalling a past encounter with a Akatya-level ninja. It seems you wish to dampen our morale. Take him away and throw him into prison. I don't need such cowards, the general commanded, gesturing towards the soldiers present. No, General. I am telling you this for your own good. If that Raijin no Juryoku truly arrives, it will bring total destruction upon us, the confidant pleaded, even as he was dragged away. You have a good confidant with you, someone who is very loyal. It's almost impossible to find such loyalty nowadays, an unknown voice was heard. As everyone heard this, they were horrified because they couldn't sense anyone's presence in the room besides their own. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, a 16-year-old boy, dressed in a black yukata, a white coat, and a black and white scarf. He approached the table and sat down, as if he was invited and it was his own dining table. Oh, udon. I love it. Thank you for the hospitality, Juryoku expressed his gratitude as he smelled the udon that had been placed on the table by a worker. Who are you? And how dare you walk so audaciously in this mansion, the general exclaimed, rising from his seat. I don't like to talk while eating, so sit down, and we can continue our conversation after we've finished our meal, Juryoku calmly replied. With a tap of his finger on the table, everyone sitting around immediately felt as if heavy boulders were placed upon them. Meanwhile, Juryoku continued to eat undisturbed, seemingly unfazed by the situation. The others were having difficulty even sitting, let alone contemplating eating, as the overwhelming force of gravity weighed heavily upon them. Chapter 35. After finishing his meal, Juryoku wiped his mouth with a towel and turned towards one of the soldiers standing in the hall. He instructed, "Go and ring the bell to gather all the soldiers under your general." The soldier hesitated upon hearing Juryoku's words. Juryoku simply waved his hand towards the soldier, and the soldier's body was sliced in half. Then, Juryoku turned towards the remaining soldier, who became immediately frightened. Will you ring the bell? Or? Juryoku asked. Yes, I will immediately go and ring the bell, the soldier responded fearfully, before quickly running away. Juryoku then turned towards the general and remarked, pointing towards the members sitting on the table, "They are your supporters, aren't they?" The general remained silent in response to Juryoku's question, which led Juryoku to declare, "Your silence is evidence enough that they are indeed your supporters." 15 times gravity, Juryoku stated. Instantly, everyone seated on the chairs was subjected to a gravitational force 15 times stronger than normal. The chairs immediately broke, causing their bodies to plummet to the ground. The intensified gravity resulted in various body parts fracturing and severe internal injuries. Their blood pressure skyrocketed, causing blood to flow from their eyes, ears, and mouths. The general was horrified witnessing this spectacle. As a seasoned general, he had witnessed many bloody scenes, but he never expected someone to sit in front of him and ruthlessly kill his own subordinates, especially considering that more than half of them were skilled jonins. "You bastard!" the general shouted in anger, attempting to stand up but finding himself unable to do so due to the overwhelming force of gravity. Jirioku paid no heed to the general's rage and calmly remarked, "Now that your supporters are dead." At that moment, a loud siren echoed through the surroundings. "It seems your soldiers are also gathering. Shall we go and meet them?" Jirioku suggested. With that, Jirioku began moving outside the mansion, dragging the general behind him, heading towards a large ground roughly the size of 2 football fields. Within half an hour, all the soldiers had assembled in that field, and they were shocked to see their general standing behind a young man. "Hello, everyone. My name is Jirioku, and I have been sent by the Jokin of the Fire Country in response to a heartfelt request from your esteemed daimyo. I stand before you today to address the simmering rebellion orchestrated by your own general, a threat that must be swiftly quelled. It brings me great joy to share the news that your general, a symbol of discord, has been successfully apprehended by my unwavering efforts. Rest assured, with his capture, the flames of rebellion will be extinguished," Jirioku eloquently proclaimed. As his authoritative voice resonated, the gravitational force imposed upon the general intensified abruptly, leaving him no choice but to kneel before the overwhelming power. Upon witnessing this scene, a contingent of soldiers positioned at the forefront were gripped with an instinctive urge to take action. Eagerly, they advanced toward the elevated platform where the general had stood, closing the distance to a mere 10 meters. However, in a display of unparalleled mastery, Jirioku raised his hand gracefully, invoking the force of gravity push. In an instant, the hapless soldiers who dared to approach were propelled backwards with great momentum, propelled even further away from their initial positions, ultimately colliding with their comrades who stood resolute in the rear ranks. I am aware that many of you were coerced into betrayal, driven by the fear of death should you refuse to submit to the general's authority. The consequences of defiance were dire, with the specter of death looming over any dissenters. However, now I offer you a chance at redemption. Those among you who were unwilling participants in this treachery, step aside from the army," Jirioku declared. As his words hung in the air, moments stretched into minutes, with no immediate response. But then, a solitary soldier broke ranks, stepping forward and mustering the courage to speak, "I have always remained steadfast in my loyalty to the daimyo. I never desired to betray, but this monstrous individual possessed intimate knowledge of our families. Those who dared to oppose him or refused to comply suffered not only their own demise but also the ruthless decimation of their loved ones. While we may be prepared to sacrifice our lives, we cannot bear witness to the slaughter of our families." With these heartfelt words, he separated himself from the line. Soon after, others followed suit, echoing the sentiments, "Me too, me too." And thus, nearly half of the army, comprised of those who had been unwilling pawns, took their stand apart from the loyalists who remained faithful solely to the general. "It seems that you have quite a substantial number of loyal soldiers under your command," Jirioku remarked, shifting his face towards the general. "Although I despise resorting to such measures, your daimyo has explicitly requested the execution of every soldier who remains fiercely loyal to you, right before your very eyes. Following that, I am tasked with delivering you alive to the daimyo," Jirioku stated calmly, as if discussing mundane topics like food and drink. Chapter 36. After Jirioku's words fell, the ground around the general started cracking, making the general the center. The broken ground stump stuck to him, causing the general to growl in pain. Jirioku did this just to trap the general until he dealt with the army of 1,500 ninjas and samurais. After trapping the general, he jumped from the high platform and stood in front of the army, saying, "You are all very loyal to your general. Maybe he is feeling very proud or whatever. Now you have only 2 options, to defeat me and free your general, or die." When Jirioku's words resonated, the soldiers poised themselves for an imminent attack. One notable jonin, who also commanded a team within the army, spoke up, saying, "Fear not. He is but one, while we number over 1,000. Our objective is clear, to defeat him and rescue our esteemed general. Unleash the full force of your might upon him." Inspired by their commander's words, all the soldiers lunged forward, launching their assault on Jirioku. As the enemy forces closed in, Jirioku raised his hand, harnessing the power of gravity to conjure a dense gravitational field around himself. The charging adversaries suddenly found their movements impeded, their once swift progress reduced to a sluggish crawl. With a swift motion, Jirioku unsheathed his sword, swiftly slashing through the air. A colossal purple arc materialized, hurtling towards the encroaching soldiers. Hindered by the gravitational force, they were unable to mount any resistance, and their numbers dwindled significantly, with at least 100 falling to Jirioku's lethal attack. Recognizing the overwhelming odds stacked against them, the enemy swiftly adapted their strategy, attempting to flank Jirioku from multiple directions. Keenly attuned to their movements through his heightened senses, Jirioku confidently raised his sword, infusing it with the potent force of gravity. Each swing of his weapon unleashed cataclysmic shockwaves, a tempestuous display of power that reverberated through the enemy ranks, leaving behind a trail of devastation. Soldiers were forcefully propelled through the air, their defenses shattered, as the sheer magnitude of Jirioku's abilities overwhelmed them. The resulting surge expelled his assailants, scattering them like autumn leaves caught in a relentless hurricane, their forces fragmented and disarrayed. Undeterred by their numerical superiority, Jirioku gracefully ascended into the skies, defying the constraints of conventional physics with his mastery over gravity. Effortlessly suspended, he surveyed the battlefield from his vantage point above. With his hands enveloped in armament haki, a pulsating blue sphere materialized, taking the form of a Rasengan. Gradually, the Rasengan transformed into the formidable wind-style Raisenshuriken, a potent technique. Jirioku hurled it toward the ground, aimed directly at the densely concentrated mass of enemy soldiers. The Raisenshuriken cleaved through numerous soldiers, cutting them in half with its devastating power. Finally, upon impact, the Raisenshuriken struck the ground where the highest concentration of soldiers stood, obliterating everything within a 3-meter radius. The destruction was absolute, leaving no survivors among the hapless soldiers caught in its devastating reach. Up until this point, the staggering tally of enemies vanquished by Jirioku had reached an astonishing count of 500, all within a mere 5 minutes since the commencement of the battle. Observing the awe-inspiring spectacle from a distance, the general couldn't help but recollect the words of his subordinate, emphasizing the formidable might of a Kage-level ninja. Though he had heard tales of their power, nothing had prepared him for the sheer monstrous strength exhibited by Jirioku, who now fought before his very eyes. Realizing the futility of direct confrontation, the soldiers, driven by desperation, sought to overwhelm Jirioku through sheer numerical superiority, resorting to hurling whatever projectiles they could grasp. However, Jirioku, harnessing his mastery over gravity, swiftly erected a colossal gravitational barrier. The onslaught of enemy attacks proved in vain as their weapons and projectiles were irresistibly drawn towards the barrier, neutralized by its overwhelming force. With his adversaries disoriented and weakened, Jirioku swiftly seized the opportune moment to strike. Plunging his sword into the ground, he triggered a cataclysmic eruption of gravity spikes beneath the enemy's feet. The earth convulsed as soldiers were suspended midair, their movements constricted by the tremendous gravitational force at play. Capitalizing on the situation, Jirioku unleashed his wind-style tornado technique. The soldiers, floating helplessly in the reduced gravity, were mercilessly drawn into the vortex of the tornado. This was no ordinary tornado, but one infused with razor-sharp winds that tore through the soldiers' bodies, akin to a brutal grinder. Within a matter of minutes, the previously gray tornado transformed into a ghastly shade of red, stained by the blood of the fallen soldiers. The power of this devastating maneuver proved fatal, claiming the lives of all 600 soldiers within its colossal 60-meter radius, rivaling the destructive force of a tailed beast bomb. Turning his attention to the remaining soldiers, Jirioku concentrated gravity upon his blade to an extraordinary extent. The sheer magnitude of the gravitational force distorted the surrounding environment, and with an unwavering resolve, he swung his sword, unleashing the formidable technique known as Raging Tiger. A menacing slash, blackish-purple in hue, cleaved through the air, leaving destruction in its wake. Anything unfortunate enough to fall within its path was not merely severed, but mercilessly crushed under the overwhelming gravitational pressure, leaving the soldiers no chance to resist as they perished unwillingly. Chapter 37. The Raging Tiger's ferocious attack nearly claimed the lives of half of the remaining soldiers, resulting in gruesome deaths. Some were crushed entirely, while others suffered from being crushed in the middle, resembling the impact of a heavy object falling upon them. "Bastard, stop! What on earth are you doing? They are just weaklings who are not worth your time. Spare their lives and hand them over to the daimyo," shouted the general from behind. Despite his inherent cruelty, witnessing the destruction of the army he had painstakingly built compelled him to shout out in despair. Even the soldiers loyal to the daimyo couldn't hide the anguish on their faces as they witnessed their comrades being killed. "As I mentioned before, I was given a mission, and you are aware of the significance of a ninja's duty," stated Jirioku calmly. Raising his hand towards the sky, he declared, "I will demonstrate why I was bestowed with the name Raijin no Jirioku." Jirioku was enveloped in lightning, and not only that, but the winds around him also started to pick up speed. As a result, the clouds began to gather in the sky. When the clouds had fully formed, the accumulated thunder within Jirioku's body was released towards the sky. Witnessing this, everyone present became confused, unsure of Jirioku's intentions. Meanwhile, Jirioku controlled the thunder within the clouds and, using his observation haki to keep track of everyone, he extended his raised hand towards the ground. In response to Jirioku's gesture, the clouds rumbled loudly, and one after another, thunderbolts began to descend precisely upon the soldiers. The outcome was evident: death. The relentless barrage of thunder continued for 5 minutes. The soldiers attempted to flee, but those who ventured beyond the range of the thundercloud were struck down first, turning the area into a deadly enclosure. Escape was futile for the soldiers; their fate had been sealed: death. Finally, when the thunder ceased, a chilling scene unfolded before everyone. Numerous bodies were scattered throughout, some missing hands, some missing legs, and others missing their heads. Charred remains were also strewn about, while the ground itself was soaked in blood. Observing this gruesome aftermath, the onlookers felt a sense of relief that they had chosen to withdraw from the general's side, knowing they could have been among the fallen soldiers. Such is human nature. A few minutes ago, they mourned the loss of their comrades, but now they found solace in their own survival. Just then, the soldiers heard a sound, and they listened attentively. The distinct laughter, hee-hee, reached their ears. They turned their gaze towards the source of the sound, only to find it was none other than the general, positioned on a raised platform. "Ha ha ha! Everyone has been killed. Not a single soul remains. Ha ha! Kill me, he exclaimed, his voice filled with deranged madness. Jirioku shook his head in response. Just then, a somewhat overweight man followed by a large group of ninjas arrived. The fat man appeared fearful as he looked towards Jirioku. This corpulent figure was none other than the daimyo of the land of rice. With a smile, he remarked, "It seems that Jokin of the Fire Country has an excellent subordinate." "First of all, I am not anyone's subordinate," Jirioku replied. "Working with her is easy, and I don't have to involve myself in village politics. That alone is sufficient for me. Secondly, the promise made by Jokin of the Fire Country has been fulfilled. Now, it's your turn to fulfill your part of the deal. If you fail to do so, you know the consequences." As his final words echoed, a tremendous aura filled with bloodlust erupted from Jirioku's body, enveloping everyone present. The daimyo and the ninjas guarding him were drenched in cold sweat. Struggling to speak, the daimyo said, "Of course, how can I forget my part of the deal? Everything will be done accordingly." Jirioku nodded and stated, "The rebellious general is alive, as per your request." As soon as Jirioku's words trailed off, he began to ascend into the air. The wind enveloped him, and the clouds formed once again, albeit on a smaller scale. Jirioku's body became cloaked in lightning, and with tremendous speed, he entered the cloud, transforming into an embodiment of thunder. He moved swiftly in a straight path, disappearing from the horizon in an instant. However, the rumbling sound of the cloud could be heard wherever he passed. This was a special technique devised by Jirioku, combining the storm chakra mode with his gravity ability. This unique fusion allowed him to achieve an incredibly high speed in his travels, enabling him to cover vast distances in a matter of seconds. During the nighttime, inside the Jokin mansion in the Fire Country, Jokin was engaged in a discussion with her subordinates. If we acquire resources from the land of rice and utilize them for the benefit of the people in our country, we will win their hearts. Moreover, we can also sell those resources to the Wind Country, further strengthening our influence, remarked one of the ministers. It is certain that we will obtain the resources from the land of rice, as this is the mission I have entrusted to Raijin no Jirioku, responded Jokin confidently. The ministers nodded in agreement. They had witnessed Jirioku's exceptional efficiency before. To this day, he had never failed a mission. Suddenly, they heard the sound of rumbling clouds, and a smile appeared on Jokin's face. He has arrived, she declared. Chapter 38. The thunder fell dramatically into the exquisite garden, creating a resounding impact. To facilitate Jirioku's majestic landings, a specially constructed platform adorned the garden, boasting its unique purpose. Whenever Jirioku descended in such a striking manner, a considerable pothole would inevitably form, requiring incessant repairs. However, to ensure Jirioku's subsequent arrivals were free from hindrances and imbued with utmost comfort, this remarkable platform was meticulously fashioned from an amalgamation of extraordinary metals and stones. These extraordinary materials possessed the remarkable ability to absorb shockwaves and thunderous vibrations, ensuring Jirioku's landings were cushioned and tranquil. The fact that Jokin invested her time and effort into creating such an extraordinary contraption undoubtedly conveyed her profound admiration and reverence for Jirioku. Within the opulent walls of the daimyo's palace, whispered rumors alluded to the undeniable truth that Jokin harbored deep affections for Jirioku, further adding intrigue to their intricate relationship. After successfully landing, Jirioku made his way inside the Grand Jokin mansion, standing confidently before Jokin himself. With determination in his voice, he announced, "I am pleased to inform you, Jokin-sama, that the rebellion in Rice Land has been thoroughly quelled. The daimyo has given his word and remains committed to fulfilling his promise of providing you with the necessary resources." Jokin nodded approvingly, her trust in Jirioku evident as she replied, "I never had any doubts that the mission would be completed, as long as it was entrusted to you. Your dedication and skills are unmatched." In response, Jokin kindly suggested, "It must have been an arduous task for you. Take some time to rest and recover, Jirioku." With a pensive expression, Jirioku contemplated his impending departure and shared, "Indeed, I am planning to leave tomorrow. Unfortunately, I will be unavailable for the next few days. All the ninjas involved in the mission have been summoned back to the village due to the upcoming Chunin exams." Having conveyed his message, Jirioku bid farewell and left the presence of Jokin. The ministers in the room were well aware of Jirioku's unconventional behavior, his refusal to show traditional respect before Jokin and the other ministers. In the past, one brave minister dared to challenge him, attempting to make him kneel. However, the consequences were severe as Jirioku swiftly ended the minister's life. Warning the others, he coldly declared, "If you wish for me to kneel before you, prove your strength first. Until then, remain silent and focus on your duties. Failure to comply will result in your demise and the destruction of our assets and families." The following day, as fate would have it, the minister whom Jirioku had eliminated saw his assets obliterated, and his family vanished without a trace. The chilling outcome sent shockwaves through the remaining ministers, instilling a deep fear of even hinting at dissatisfaction in Jirioku's presence. Although this action of Jirioku may seem cruel, he never trusts politicians and their families, as he believes they might have some tricks up their sleeves to annoy him. Jirioku is wary of politicians because he knows they can't do much to physically harm him, but they possess the potential to cause annoyance through cunning strategies. Therefore, he remains cautious and skeptical of their intentions. After going to his room, the first thing he did was take a look at his character panel. System Show My Status panel. Ding! Name, Hyuga Jirioku. Chakra, Kage Middle Level. Template, Isho Fujitora, 73.06%. Strength, Kage High Level, Super Kage Level. Ability, Storm Chakra Mode, Observation Haki, Top, Armament Haki, Advanced, Swordsmanship, Great Swordsman. Daily Task, Increase Template by 0.03%. Swing Sword, 0/1000, * 12x Gravity. Run, 0/20 miles, * 12x Gravity. Push-ups, 0 out of 100, * 12x Gravity. Long-term task, Sharingan, 10/10, Byakugan, 0/10. Note, as your strength improves, the difficulty of tasks will also increase. After looking at his system panel, Jirioku decided to complete his today's training without any delay. The ground around him, where he was standing, sank slightly due to 12 times gravity around his body. However, since Jirioku was used to it, he didn't feel any discomfort. Finally, after completing his training, he turned towards the direction of his gate and said, "Shiromi, you have been standing there for quite a long time. Do you need anything?" After Jirioku's voice faded, a beautiful girl entered the door, holding a white flower. If any minister had been standing there, they would have been shocked because this girl was none other than Jokin. "It has been so many years since we met. Don't you know why I would be here?" Shiromi went to the table and placed the lunch box there, saying, "Come and eat." Jirioku, acknowledging her kind gesture, nodded appreciatively. After cleansing himself, he proceeded to the table, relishing the delectable feast that Shiromi had bestowed upon him. Meanwhile, as Jirioku savored each mouthful, Shiromi's gaze fixated on him, unable to prevent herself from being engulfed by a flood of memories. She found herself drifting back to the time when Jirioku valiantly rescued her from imminent danger. During one of her visits, a menacing group of elite ninjas had besieged her entire crew, intent on capturing her. In that fateful moment, a seemingly youthful boy, aged between 12 and 13, emerged as her guardian angel, decimating the elite ninjas with an almost otherworldly prowess. Deeply moved by Jirioku's unwavering commitment to her safety, Shiromi made an earnest plea for his services as her personal guardian. Over time, he not only became her steadfast protector but also evolved into her most unwavering pillar of support, propelling her towards the ambitious pursuit of becoming the first female daimyo. Chapter 39. After Jirioku had finished eating, he stood up to wash his hands. Shiromi, finally snapping out of her deep thoughts, promptly offered her assistance in washing his hands. It was at that moment that Shiromi spoke up, her voice laced with curiosity and a hint of admiration. "You always express your disdain for visiting Konoha due to the complex web of politics that engulfs it, and yet, you continue to support me." Jirioku leaned against the sink, his expression serious as he contemplated his response. While it is true that politics exist even in our current surroundings, the potential harm it can cause me is significantly lesser than the repercussions of entering Konoha. In that village, every family relentlessly fights for their individual rights, and should I become entangled in that mire, bloodshed would become the norm. They possess the strength and resources to back their political machinations, unlike here, where no one holds such immense power, not even the daimyo. Granted, if a kage from any major village were to attempt a coup and seize control of the daimyo's throne, it could be achieved rather easily. However, they refrain from such audacious actions because they understand that engaging in such endeavors would inevitably invite the wrath of the other major villages, resulting in their total annihilation, Jirioku explained. Shiromi glanced around, her eyes darting nervously, before she uttered with a mix of concern and exasperation, "You truly fear nothing, don't you? But what if this information were to reach my father's ears?" A wry smile played on Jirioku's lips as he confidently responded, "What could he possibly do? At most, he he could dispatch some jonins, elite jonins, or even S-level ninjas to challenge me. However, none of them would pose a true threat to me. Besides, your father is well aware of the consequences that would befall anyone foolish enough to provoke me. He would never dare to make a move against me. In fact, deep down, all the daimyos possess this understanding. Hence, there's no need for you to worry, even if this information were to somehow reach your father's ears. Fortunately, your father is not an arrogant daimyo. A sigh escaped Shiromi's lips involuntarily as she acknowledged the undeniable truth in Jirioka's words. As the Jokin of the Fire Country, she knew all too well the complexities and power dynamics that govern the nation. So, do you believe it is absolutely necessary for you to journey to Konoha? If you wish, I could inform the Hokage that you have been entrusted with a vital mission, assigned directly by me, Shiromi offered, her voice tinged with sincerity and concern. No, this time it is absolutely necessary for me to go, and perhaps, after accomplishing what I am about to do, I might even be declared a rogue ninja of Konoha, said Jirioka calmly. Shiromi was taken aback by this revelation, quickly rising from her seat as she anxiously inquired, What? What exactly are you planning to do? Jirioka responded, You don't need to know all the details. I simply informed you to prepare yourself mentally for what lies ahead. Persistently, Shiromi tried to press for more information, but Jirioka curtly interjected, Enough. I need to rest. I've been exhausted for far too long. After witnessing Jirioka's resolute demeanor, Shiromi could only leave helplessly. However, before departing, she expressed her concern, Whatever you are planning to do, please take care of your safety. Jirioka responded with a nonchalant nod, The next morning, Jirioka awoke and promptly attended to his daily tasks. Once finished, he sat down to have a meal with Shiromi. After their meal, he bid her farewell and left the Jokin mansion, following the same path he had arrived. He arrived at a platform, and with a sudden surge of power, transformed into a bolt of lightning, vanishing into the billowing clouds above. At that time, inside Konoha, on a training ground, Kakashi was training while sitting on a tree. Below him, Team 7 was training, especially Sasuke, who had been beaten by Lee yesterday. Although Sasuke is stronger than he was in the canon, he still lost badly to Lee. Not only Team 7, but also Team 8 and Team 10 were present. Asuma and Kurenai were below the tree, talking and observing their students' training. At that moment, Ino approached Asuma and said, Sensei, did you find out where Jirioka is? You said you would ask the Hokage about this. As soon as Ino finished speaking, everyone who was training stopped, as this question was also on everyone's mind. Jirioka hadn't returned to the village for the past 2 years. Asuma looked helpless and replied, We can't reveal this. We only know that he works directly under Jokin, and his strength surpasses even that of Jonins. Even I am weaker than him. In the ninja world, he is known as Raijin no Jirioku. Ask Kakashi, maybe he knows more. Kakashi closed his book and appeared on the ground from the tree. I can't say much, he said. Please, Kakashi-sensei, if you know something, tell us, requested Ino. And upon hearing the mention of Jirioka's name, an involuntary surge of memories flooded Naruto's mind, transporting him back to a time when Jirioka had mercilessly humiliated their entire class. Unable to resist the urge, Naruto swiftly interjected himself into the ongoing conversation, eager to assert his presence and make his voice heard. Yes, Kakashi-sensei, do you know where that bastard is? I will definitely defeat him, Naruto said. Everyone requested information from Kakashi, so with a sigh, he decided to tell them, in order to make them realize how far behind Jirioka they were. Just at that moment, a voice came, My eternal rival Kakashi, you all have gathered here. Why didn't you tell me? It was none other than my guy, who had come with his team. Chapter 40, Seeing Guy, Kakashi nodded in greeting, and similarly, Kurenai and Asuma also nodded their heads towards Guy. It seems like you all were engaged in a discussion, Guy remarked, displaying a wide grin that revealed his teeth. Before anyone else could respond, as was his usual impulsive nature, Naruto interjected, Yeah, Kakashi-sensei was just telling us about Jirioku." Upon hearing Naruto's remark, Neji and Lee couldn't contain their excitement, and even Guy, having heard his students mention this name countless times, became intrigued. "Tell us, Kakashi Jonin, what were you saying?" asked Ino. "What I am about to tell you is confidential news, so don't spread it without authorization, or else you'll be hunted down by me," said Kakashi, releasing his menacing aura. Every Genin swallowed nervously, and as soon as Kakashi withdrew his aura, they all nodded simultaneously. "Yesterday, I received news about Jirioku. He alone went to the land of Rice and suppressed the rebellion there, killing 1,500 soldiers of the land of Rice in the process, and that too single-handedly," said Kakashi. After hearing Kakashi's surprising words, everyone in the room was struck with sheer shock and disbelief. The weight of his statement lingered in the air, leaving them momentarily speechless. However, amidst the stunned silence, Sasuke found his voice and inquired with a hint of frustration, "Couldn't you have quelled the rebellion?" Kakashi, maintaining his calm demeanor, responded with a measured tone, "I could have, but as a seasoned ninja, my strategy would involve first discerning their routine and systematically eliminating all the unstable factors. However, executing a direct assault on 1,500 adversaries without any respite is an insurmountable task for any of us. Guy might possess the physical strength to attempt it, but even then, success is far from guaranteed." Kakashi continued, "Someone as powerful as the Sannin and only the Hokage has the strength to achieve such a feat, so you can understand how powerful he has become." The weight of Kakashi's words settled upon the gathered individuals, and a profound silence enveloped everyone. They grappled with the magnitude of his statement. Time seemed to stand still, allowing them a moment to fully comprehend the implications. Just as Naruto wanted to ask who the Sannin were that Kakashi was talking about, an ANBU ninja arrived before Kakashi and others, saying that a huge chakra was approaching Konoha from the skies and there was a chance it might enter Konoha through the air. Therefore, everyone was asked to be ready for a potential attack. Kakashi's expression turned grave, a clear reflection of the severity of the situation. Seeking more information, he pressed the ANBU ninja, "Is there anything else we should know?" In response, the ANBU ninja reported, "This particular movement style aligns with that of Raijin no Jirioku. It is highly probable that this individual is the one approaching. However, due to their aerial position, confirming the exact chakra signature is challenging. Therefore, we must remain vigilant and alert." Acknowledging the gravity of the situation, Kakashi nodded, his mind already formulating a plan of action. With unwavering determination, he declared, "Remain here, all of you. We cannot afford to waste a moment. We must venture forth." Ino, refusing to be left behind, interjected with unwavering resolve, "No, we are coming with you." Asuma, concerned for their safety, sought to dissuade Ino, asserting, "It may be perilous." Shikamaru, enlightened her about the risks involved. Undeterred, Shikamaru confidently countered, "No, sensei. We will accompany you. Besides, with numerous Jonins present, the likelihood of danger diminishes significantly. And even if we do encounter any, we can retreat swiftly." Observing the determined expressions on everyone's faces, Asuma and Kurenai glanced at Kakashi, seeking guidance on what course of action to take. "Okay, but under no circumstances will you leave our side," Kakashi asserted firmly before leading the group towards their destination. Due to the commotion caused by the movement of Konoha ninjas, everyone from other villages who had come for the Chunin exam also became alert and decided to follow along in order to see what was happening in Konoha. As the sound of rumbling clouds grew closer and closer to Konoha, a sense of anticipation filled the air. Finally, with a resounding crash, thunder descended from the sky and entered the village. The ANBU ninjas on high alert received information, prompting their leader to caution, "It has been confirmed that the individual is none other than Raijin no Jirioku, so hold your attacks." Swiftly, news of the person's true identity reached the ANBU ninja accompanying Kakashi. Upon hearing this, Kakashi made his way to the scene and witnessed the thunder gradually subsiding, revealing the figure of Jirioku. There was an almost palpable aura emanating from him, an invisible pressure that could be felt just by his mere presence. One of the ANBU ninjas stepped forward and politely requested, "May I have a look at your ninja forehead protector, please?" Jirioku nodded in acknowledgement and handed over his ninja forehead protector to the ANBU ninja. After carefully confirming its authenticity, the ANBU ninja returned the forehead protector to Jirioku and conveyed, "Hokage-sama has expressed a desire to meet you." Jirioku responded with a brief nod, signaling his understanding and acceptance of the invitation. Ino felt a strong urge to run towards Jirioku and embrace him, but upon considering the presence of so many people, she refrained from doing so. She understood that her actions might give rise to unfounded rumors, which would not be beneficial for her father or Jirioku. Thus, she controlled her impulse and restrained herself. Meanwhile, Jirioku turned his face in a particular direction and pointed in that direction and inquired, "Who is that person?" The ANBU ninja followed Jirioku's finger and replied, "That person is Baki, an elite jonin from Sunagakure." Jirioku simply nodded in response, and upon seeing Jirioku's gaze directed towards him, Baki was startled. In his impulsive state upon seeing Jirioku, he had unknowingly emanated killing intent. "You should know that I detest those who display killing intent towards me." Baki heard these words whispered into his ears from behind, causing him to take a step forward, drenched in cold sweat. Chapter 41, Ambu Ninja, who was standing beside Jirioku and answering Jirioku's questions, saw Jirioku appear behind Baki. Then, he witnessed Jirioku, who was standing beside him, fade away. After image, he thought, realizing the incredible speed of Jirioku. As Baki caught sight of Jirioku standing before him, beads of sweat cascaded down his forehead, evidence of his nervousness. However, he summoned his inner strength and mustered the courage to speak, breaking the tension in the air. "Hello," he stammered, his voice trembling slightly, "perhaps there has been a misunderstanding." With a calm and confident demeanor, Jirioku responded, his words carrying an air of wisdom. "I am a blind individual, perceiving the world solely through the prism of my senses. If my perception were flawed, I would not be known as Raijin no Jirioku, don't you agree? Alright, no need to say more. I'll give you a chance to fulfill your killing intent towards me. Attack me with your best attack, and I'll counter with one of my weakest attacks that I usually don't use in fights," said Jirioku. Realizing that Jirioku harbored a desire to humiliate or incapacitate him without fatal intentions, Baki weighed his options carefully. Rejecting Jirioku's proposition would inevitably lead to his demise at the hands of this formidable adversary. Therefore, Baki nodded solemnly, accepting the challenge presented before him. Creating distance between himself and Jirioku, Baki positioned himself strategically, preparing to launch his attack. Meanwhile, those present in the vicinity stood motionless, unwilling to intervene for two compelling reasons. Firstly, Jirioku's overwhelming strength commanded respect and fear. Secondly, the unfolding events were an inevitable consequence of Baki's own actions, leaving them as mere spectators to the impending clash. Baki began performing hand seals, initiating the technique known as wind release, blade of wind hurricane. A swirling hurricane of invisible wind swords took shape, capable of harming even those with sight. Recognizing its potency, Baki unleashed this powerful ninjutsu. Good. At least you possess strength, remarked Jirioku, who remained motionless without making a single move. However, his entire body became enveloped in armament haki. When Baki's ninjutsu collided with Jirioku, causing widespread destruction in its wake, everyone watched in astonishment. Despite the chaos, Jirioku stood unharmed, not a single scratch marring his person. As he retracted his armament haki, even his clothes remained intact. "Now that you're finished, it's my turn. I rarely resort to taijutsu, so brace yourself for a strike," declared Jirioku. With those words, he vanished from his original position, reappearing right in front of Baki. Before Baki could even react, he was struck by Jirioku's palm, sending him hurtling through the air. "Teacher!" cried out Temari and Kankuro, their voices filled with concern. Gaara, standing on the sidelines, wore a ferocious expression, ready to launch an attack on Jirioku. However, before he could act, he found himself subjected to an immense gravitational force imposed by Jirioku. At this moment, Jirioku spoke, "Your teacher is alive, and you may go see him." After saying that, he disappeared from the place and reappeared beside the ANBU ninja, taking him along to meet the Hokage. At the location where Kakashi, Guy, Kurenai, and Asuma stood, complete silence enveloped them. Guy broke the silence, remarking, "That is his base speed without any chakra support. It's almost equal to my speed at the fourth gate." Yes, throughout the entire time, he relied solely on his physical strength, except when he destroyed the meridians of the elite Jonin from Sunagakure, Kakashi stated, his Sharingan activated. Since Jirioku disappeared, Kakashi had been closely observing his every move. "What? But how?" Asuma expressed his surprise. "The method he employed is similar to the gentle fist of the Hyuga clan, but different. He converts wind into fine needles, and upon striking the opponent's body with his palm, they penetrate inside, causing internal destruction," Kakashi explained, providing everyone with a detailed account of the process. They then turned their attention towards their respective students. Mixed emotions played across their faces, some were happy, some were sad, some were filled with enthusiasm, while others seemed indifferent. At that moment, Ino began to leave. Asuma questioned, "Where are you going, Ino?" "To meet Jirioku," Ino replied as she walked away. "But he went to the Hokage's office." "If you want to meet him, we should go there," Asuma suggested. However, Ino didn't listen and ran away faster than ever. A sigh escaped Asuma's lips. "She's heading to the right place," Shikamaru remarked. "Huh?" Asuma became confused. Seeing his teacher's confusion, Shikamaru elaborated, "Since childhood, Jirioku has always eaten at Ichiraku ramen shop and shares a deep bond with Ichiraku and his daughter. So, after meeting the Hokage, he will definitely go there." Having explained this, Shikamaru also began moving in the direction of Ichiraku ramen shop. Finally, everyone gathered at Ichiraku ramen shop. The sight of so many people surprised Ichiraku, who asked, "What's the occasion that brought you all here?" Ino replied mysteriously, "You'll find out soon. It's a surprise." Just as Shikamaru had predicted, Jirioku arrived at the door of Ichiraku ramen shop. Ayame and Ichiraku were both taken aback by his presence, particularly because Jirioku now looked like a 16 to 17-year-old boy. Ichiraku smiled upon seeing him. Jirioku approached an empty seat, and as soon as he sat down, silence settled over the place for a few seconds. Then, Jirioku spoke, same as before. Ichiraku, as if anticipating this, replied, "Coming right up." Chapter 42, Ichiraku arrived with a steaming bowl of ramen, the very kind that Jirioku usually indulged in. In that moment, Ino spoke up, her voice filled with longing, "You have no idea how much I missed you. Everything seemed so dull when you weren't around." Jirioku shook his head in response, a hint of amusement in his voice, "I don't speak much anyway, so why would you feel dull when I'm not here?" Undeterred, Ino continued, her curiosity evident, "Well, this time you're going to stay, right?" Jirioku nodded affirmatively, "Yes, until the Chunin exam." With growing intrigue, Ino couldn't help but inquire further, "So, are you planning to participate in the Chunin exam as well?" Interrupting their conversation from the sidelines, Kakashi chimed in, his tone matter-of-fact, "He's already a Jonin. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been entrusted with S-level tasks." The revelation left everyone stunned. While they had heard Kakashi speak highly of Jirioku's abilities, the fact that he was already a Jonin caught them by surprise, except for Shikamaru, who seemed to have had some inkling. Voicing her discontentment and a tinge of envy, Ino questioned, "Why do you have to work for that princess? Can't you just take on missions within the village?" Seeking input, Jirioku looked towards Kakashi. Perhaps Kakashi, the esteemed Jonin, can provide an answer. Kakashi, however, remained silent, leaving the question unanswered. Finishing his ramen and rising from his seat, Jirioku began to speak, his words carrying a weight of wisdom. "In this village, if you wish to live carefree, you either have to embrace dullness or possess average talent. But if you are intelligent, exceptionally skilled, and lack influential connections, then you must exercise caution as if you were in an enemy's territory. These words caused a noticeable shift in the expressions of those present, particularly the leading jonins, who seemed taken aback by the gravity of Jirioku's statement. Asuma, unable to stay silent, confronted Jirioku, his tone laced with disagreement. "What do you mean, Jirioku? Just because you're strong doesn't give you license to say nonsensical things." Attempting to defuse the tension, Shikamaru and the others sought to intervene, but their efforts were cut short as Asuma's body slouched, the ground beneath him sinking and creating a small pit. Caught within, Asuma struggled to breathe under the intense force of 20 times gravity. Confidently, Jirioku remarked, "You lack the strength to do this, but I possess it. That's why I can speak my mind." Any objections? Ino, defending her teacher, pleaded with Jirioku, "Please, Jirioku, leave him alone. Asuma-sensei is important to me." Jirioku released Asuma from the grip of intensified gravity, casually remarking, "It seems you're the only one reacting this way. Ask Kakashi if he agrees. He will undoubtedly confirm, for he, too, has experienced loss along with his father." With those final words, Jirioku turned away, leaving Ino with a desire to follow him. "I'm tired and need some time alone." A few moments ago, Jirioku entered the Hokage's office. Inside a house in Konoha, there knelt Kabuto, a white-haired boy adorned with spectacles, in front of a certain individual. "Orochimaru-sama, it's Jirioku who has returned to Konoha. This development may pose a hindrance to your plans, for his strength rivals that of the Hokage, and that's without even witnessing his true power." "No need to worry, Kabuto. Everyone has their weaknesses, and Jirioku is no exception," assured Orochimaru, his tongue darting out to moisten his lips. Curiosity piqued, Kabuto inquired, "Are you referring to Yamanaka Ino, the daughter of Yamanaka Inoichi?" With a dismissive wave of his hand, Orochimaru clarified, "Oh, no, not at all. Although there might be a certain sentiment there, I won't rely on that alone. I possess something far more compelling, a leverage that can not only prevent Jirioku from meddling in our plans but possibly even align him with our cause," he revealed, a sly smile gracing his face. The revelation left Kabuto utterly bewildered, struggling to make sense of Orochimaru's intentions. Observing Kabuto's state of confusion, Orochimaru elucidated further, "You see, my snakes have been slithering through the shadows of Konoha for years, gathering valuable intelligence. By a stroke of fate, they happened to be present on the day of Jirioku's mother's demise, and through their eyes, I bore witness to that tragic event." Producing a scroll from his robes, Orochimaru handed it to Kabuto, commanding, "Deliver this scroll to Jirioku." Kabuto nodded in acknowledgement, accepting the task at hand, and departed from the room. After bidding farewell to Ichiraku Ramen, Jirioku made his way back to his house, a place he hadn't set foot in for 2 long years. As he swung open the door, a surprising sight greeted him. No trace of dust or neglect could be found. "Ah, it must have been cleaned by the servants Ino mentioned," Jirioku muttered, recalling their conversation at the ramen shop. Taking a seat that faced the entrance, Jirioku settled in comfortably, his gaze fixed on the door. With a calm yet expectant tone, he spoke aloud, "You've been shadowing my every move for quite some time now. It seems the moment has come for you to reveal yourself, wouldn't you agree?" At that moment, Kabuto, who had been quietly tailing Jirioku, made his entrance, adjusting his glasses with a flick of his finger. A smile played upon his lips as he addressed Jirioku. "Ah, Raijin no Jirioku, your instincts are as sharp as ever." Dismissing the flattery, Jirioku cut to the chase, his voice laced with curiosity. "Enough with the pleasantries. Why have you been following me?" Kabuto quickly reassured him, his tone earnest. "Fear not, Jirioku. I bear no ill will. I've actually come bearing news," he said, extending a scroll towards Jirioku. A hint of skepticism colored Jirioku's response. "If malice had been your intention, you would have met a swift demise in my presence. You would have been dead by now if you had harbored any ill intentions towards me," retorted Jirioku as he accepted the scroll. Suddenly, a realization struck Kabuto, prompting him to say, My apologies. Allow me to read the contents to you. No need. If I couldn't read and decipher what was written on this paper, I wouldn't be able to identify individuals, carry out numerous assassinations, or eliminate the targets assigned in my missions, stated Juryoku confidently. Chapter 43, Juryoku carefully read the scroll's contents, making sure he didn't miss any information. After he finished reading, a strange quiet descended upon the area, as though the air itself had been muted. Kabuto appeared to be standing in an abyss where all signs of existence were gone at that precise instant rather than the bounds of a simple house. Juryoku gripped the scroll firmly and said, "Are the contents of this scroll accurate?" in a low voice that nonetheless rang with authority. "Every word written upon it is correct, and not only this, Orochimaru-sama himself had witnessed this," Kabuto immediately replied. The Orochimaru, who had specifically requested that his identity be disclosed, had asked Kabuto to bring up his name. Drawing upon his astute observation haki, Juryoku ascertained that Kabuto spoke the truth, detecting no trace of deceit in his words. While Juryoku harbored neither affection nor animosity towards Orochimaru, he recognized that, regardless of Orochimaru's villainous reputation, he never lies. Hence, Juryoku concluded that the information conveyed by Orochimaru was unquestionably true. Not only did Orochimaru's testimony lend credence to this fact, but Juryoku's own doubts concerning his mother's demise also cast doubt on the circumstances surrounding her death. Despite outward appearances suggesting her demise resulted from a wind ninjutsu, the activation of her curse mark prior to her passing contradicted the typical pattern observed among members of the Hyuga clan, where the mark typically emerges after death. He wanted to conduct a thorough investigation, but it was stated that she had already undergone a meticulous examination, leading to the determination that she had been killed by spies. Even though Juryoku wasn't even using any of his skills at the time, Kabuto found it difficult to maintain his composure in front of him. Kabuto had a feeling that something significant was going to happen. As anticipated by Kabuto, an immense pressure emanated from Juryoku. The sky above Konoha, which had been clear just minutes before, became obscured by clouds with thunder resonating inside. Within a 2-kilometer radius of Juryoku's house, everyone lost consciousness, while Kabuto, who stood before Juryoku, struggled to remain on his feet. He leaned against the wall for support, dripping with excessive sweat and gasping for air. Within the residence where Juryoku resided, various objects began to shatter. It was only when the glass of a photo frame containing pictures of Juryoku with his parents broke that Juryoku regained his senses. As soon as Juryoku came back to his senses, he regained control of the newly awakened Conqueror's Haki. Yes, in the heat of his rage, his Conqueror's Haki awakened. With Juryoku's Conqueror's Haki back under his command, a sense of calm was restored. Kabuto, on the other hand, found himself kneeling on the ground, gasping for breath. The exertion had caused his clothes to become drenched in sweat, clinging to his body. In a composed manner, Juryoku calmly addressed Kabuto, "Please enlighten me about the price associated with this valuable information. I am well aware that someone of Sannin's caliber would never engage in a trade where he stands to gain nothing, especially when it concerns someone like Orochimaru." Adjusting his glasses, Kabuto responded, "The price is rather straightforward, Mr. Juryoku. Orochimaru-sama is organizing an attack against Konoha. If you could join us in this effort, it would be really valuable. However, if you are unable to align yourself with our cause, I kindly request that you refrain from interfering with our plans." While maintaining his stance, Juryoku firmly stated, "I cannot support the destruction of Konoha, yet I promise not to obstruct your actions, as long as you do not cross the line and harm individuals who should remain untouched." Kabuto nodded in acknowledgement, fully anticipating Juryoku's response, as did Orochimaru. "There is one favor I ask of you," Juryoku continued. "Many years ago, Hyuga Hizashi informed me that my father was slain by Danzo and his root operatives during the extraction of the wind chakra mode from his mind. I desire to uncover the identities of the ninjas responsible for bringing my father's body to the Hyuga clan and falsely claiming his death as a result of battle. It is evident that these individuals were not affiliated with the root. Perhaps Orochimaru possesses knowledge regarding this matter." I seek an answer before the start of the Chunin exams. Kabuto nodded once more and promptly departed from Jirioku's residence to fulfill his request. After Kabuto left, Jirioku went to the place where the photos of his parents had fallen. He picked them up and placed them carefully on the table, then started cleaning the broken glass from the ground. While he was doing this, his house was surrounded by quite a lot of ninjas. At that moment, Hiruzen entered with the Inoshikacho group, Kakashi, Hayashi, and a few more elite jonins. Upon seeing Jirioku cleaning the broken glass and the mess in his room, everyone became confused. Hiruzen asked, "Jirioku, did something happen here? Your room seems to be in a mess." "Nothing happened. It's just that I found out something about my past, and after learning it, my emotions got out of control, leading to this mess. It's the first time in my life that I lost control of my emotions, and that too in such a manner," said Jirioku while collecting the glass in a plastic bag. Then he turned to face the Hokage and the others and continued, "Don't worry about those unconscious people around me in a 2-kilometer radius. They will wake up on their own and won't have any issues. Just let them rest, and they should wake up by tomorrow or maybe even earlier, depending on their willpower." Chapter 44. As for the losses the people suffered after fainting, I assure you that I will make up for it. Please send me the detailed list, and I will take full responsibility for compensating them, said Jirioku earnestly. "May I know which news has unsettled you to this extent?" Hokage inquired, his curiosity piqued. "I regret to say that it is a deeply personal matter that I am unable to share at this time," Jirioku replied calmly. "Furthermore, I regret to inform you that I am unable to serve as the invigilator for the second round of the examination due to my current mental state, which is not conducive to such responsibilities," Jirioku continued. Jirioku reported everything as a Konoha ninja after returning to Konoha and meeting with Hiruzen. Hiruzen then asked him to be the invigilator for the second round of Chunin exams, to which Jirioku agreed. However, because he promised Orochimaru not to interfere, he is unable to take part in the Chunin exams. If Orochimaru succeeds despite Jirioku's presence, it will be a direct insult to Jirioku's strength. Hiruzen, powerless to compel Jirioku to reveal his secret, could only nod favorably. Hiruzen had a sense that Jirioku's strength was on par with his own ever since Jirioku's return, and he couldn't ignore the rumors about Joken's feelings for Jirioku. Hiruzen assured, in an attempt to offer assistance, "Jirioku, as a member of our village and a skilled ninja, you should know that I am here to help you to the best of my ability. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me." Jirioku expressed his gratitude without saying anything by simply nodding in response to Hiruzen's words. Hiruzen gathered all the jonins and elite jonins outside, keeping a safe distance from Jirioku's house. He paused his progress and turned to face Kakashi, speaking calmly, "I've known Jirioku since he was a child, and I've noticed one consistent quality in him: he has an unusually calm demeanor that borders on extreme. Furthermore, he is a highly calculated individual who has never lost his cool. As a result, his outburst of rage in front of his classmates was nothing more than a well-executed act, one that we had presumed. It's critical that we investigate the source of his current agitation, as it appears to have overwhelmed him to the point where he couldn't control his aura. Furthermore, I urge you all to investigate the sudden fainting occurrences that occurred among the ninjas within a 2-kilometer radius of Jirioku's house. We must ascertain the cause behind this unexplainable phenomenon," Hiruzen continued. Kakashi nodded in agreement, joined by the rest of the elite jonins, who showed unanimous compliance as they dispersed to complete their assigned tasks. After a few minutes in the Hyuga clan compound, Hayashi was sitting opposite his father, the Hyuga elder. "So, what exactly transpired?" inquired the Hyuga elder, eager to learn the entire story. Hayashi took a deep breath and proceeded to explain everything he had seen and heard during his stay at Jirioku's house. After hearing everything, the Hyuga elder couldn't help but shake his head and said, "It's about this Jirioku again. After he got the name Raijin no Jirioku, people laughed at our Hyuga clan for being fools. Now that he is even stronger than before, and considering the Hokage's attitude towards Jirioku, it can be concluded that Jirioku has reached a level of strength where even the Hokage has to be cautious." not to mention his political influence, just because he is the sole supporter of Jokin. Because of Jurioku's strength and support, it is almost guaranteed that Jokin will be the next and first female daimyo of the Fire Country. Now, do you regret your decision, father? Asked Hayashi, whose demeanor hadn't changed since the very beginning. I don't have regrets about any of my decisions. However, there is one decision that I now wish I hadn't made. Even if it meant risking the disapproval of the Hokage, I should have eliminated him when I had the chance. I had planned to kill him after he graduated, but who knew that from the moment of graduation, he had the strength to kill elite Jonin. To this day, even with a bounty of a whopping 100 million in the black market, no one dares to touch him, replied Hyuga, showing no regret but extreme calmness on his face. So, Hayashi inquired, what should be our stance regarding Jurioku? I am completely certain that Jurioku is already aware of my attempted assassination on him. If it means that the Hyuga clan can mend its animosity with him, I am willing to offer myself as a sacrifice, declared the Hyuga elder, determination evident on his face. Father attempted to interject, but the Hyuga elder interrupted, there is no need for further words. If I can allow one of my sons to sacrifice for the sake of the clan and the village, then I can do the same. In the hidden village of Konoha, deep within the root organization, a lone ninja knelt humbly before Danzo, dutifully recounting every detail of the events that had occurred since Jurioku's return. Danzo's expression darkened as he heard the report, reflecting the gravity of the situation. So his power has truly risen to such heights, he murmured, his tone concerned. Despite the gravity of the situation, Danzo's eyes glowed with determination. However, once my collaboration with Orochimaru succeeds, I will be the next Hokage, and upon attaining the position of Hokage, I shall swiftly address this Jurioku threat, he said quietly to himself. Regarding the possibility of Jurioku interfering with their plan, he didn't even entertain the thought, as Orochimaru had assured him that he have a way to keep Jurioku preoccupied. Chapter 45, On the day of the Chunin exam, ninjas from the villages of Konoha, Sunagakure, Kusagakure, Amigakure, Takigakure, and Otogakure gathered in room number 301 of the Ninja Academy. 9 rookies from this year gathered in one corner of the classroom, engaged in a lively conversation. Ino asked Shikamaru, do you know what's going on with that ninja outside Jurioku's house? He won't let anyone meet him. Shikamaru replied, I'm not sure. Maybe something significant happened. Even our parents haven't told us anything. Just then, Kabuto approached everyone and introduced himself, saying, Hello, my name is Kabuto. This is my 7th attempt at the exam. He then asked, Are all of you the 9 rookies from this year? Sakura responded, Yes. Kabuto gestured towards the other candidates sitting nearby, who were glaring at the rookies, and said, Look at the dissatisfaction you've caused among the other candidates. Everyone was stunned by this revelation but remained composed, knowing they were not weaklings. Sakura spoke up, You mentioned that your name is Kabuto. What do you mean by attempting the Chunin exam for the 7th time? Yes, Kabuto replied with a confident smile, the Chunin exam happens twice every year, without fail. And let me tell you, this is already my 4th year participating in it. A sense of intrigue filled the air as Kabuto reached into his pocket, pulling out a stack of cards carefully preserved with valuable information. He held them up for everyone to see, adding, These cards contain a wealth of knowledge that I have diligently collected throughout my journey. Sasuke's curiosity was piqued, and he couldn't help but ask, So, you have information on specific individuals from other villages as well as our very own Konoha? Kabuto nodded, his gaze focused. Indeed, I have amassed a fair amount of data on various individuals. However, I do require at least a rough description or appearance from you to provide the relevant details. Sasuke considered for a moment before mentioning 2 names. Tell me about Rock Lee from Konoha and Gaara of the Sand. Kabuto's eyes sparkled with familiarity as he swiftly retrieved 2 cards from his collection. Infusing them with his chakra, he showcased the first card featuring Rock Lee. Ah, Lee, a remarkable shinobi. He graduated a year ahead of all of you, making him 1 year older. Even back then, he displayed considerable skill and potential. It remains a mystery why he abstained from participating in previous Chunin exams. According to my records, he has completed an impressive tally of 20 D-level missions and 11 C-level missions. Taking a moment for everyone to absorb the information, Kabuto continued, "Now, let's delve into the enigmatic Gaara of the Sand. As a shinobi hailing from another village, reliable information on him is scarce. However, my records indicate that he has successfully accomplished 8 C-level missions and a notable B-level mission. What's truly remarkable is that Gaara has managed to complete every single mission unscathed, without even the slightest injury." Shikamaru couldn't contain his astonishment. "Wait, you're saying that as a genin, he tackled a B-level mission flawlessly? That's unprecedented." As the conversation progressed, another voice chimed in. It was Hyuga Niji, seeking information on Jirioku from Konoha. Kabuto responded promptly, extracting a specific card from the bundle and infusing it with his chakra. The image of Jirioku came into focus. Jirioku, a member of the Hyuga clan, Kabuto began, delving into the intriguing tale. At the tender age of 4, he made a drastic choice to escape the fate of being controlled by the main branch. He gouged out his own eyes. From that point on, he dedicated himself to rigorous training for the next 6 years. Astonishingly, at the age of 10, he not only graduated from the Ninja Academy but also defeated a seasoned genin who had fought in the war and was on the verge of being promoted to Chunin. Merely a month later, a bounty was placed on his head, attracting the attention of one of the most formidable black market mercenaries and his entire team. Jirioku, displaying unrivaled prowess, effortlessly triumphed over them. It's worth noting that 5 members of that group were jonins, with the leader himself being an elite jonin by the standards of major villages. Additionally, he even eliminated Hyuga clan members who dared to ambush him, including his own jonin leader. Pausing momentarily, Kabuto allowed the weight of his words to sink in before resuming his narration. Following these events, Jirioku embarked on numerous missions, and by the age of 11, he was promoted to Chunin. Within the same year, by the midpoint, he ascended to the esteemed rank of elite Chunin. And astonishingly, at the tender age of 12, he received a direct promotion to Jonin. Over time, his strength grew to legendary proportions, earning him the moniker Rajin no Jirioku, the lightning god Jirioku. This title bears significance as it originated from a pivotal event during his mission to quell a rebellion orchestrated by a Fire Country minister. When faced with an army of 500 ninja, Jirioku became akin to the embodiment of lightning itself, effortlessly controlling where it struck. His entire body crackled with electric energy, leading witnesses to hail him as the god of lightning. Notably, he possesses the rare Kekkai Genkai that enables him to manipulate gravity. Thus, he was bestowed with the name Rajin no Jirioku, signifying his dominion over lightning and gravity. To date, Jirioku has accomplished a staggering 400 missions, among which an astounding 35 are classified as S-level missions. As Kabuto's words reverberated through the air, an air of astonishment engulfed not only Niji and his comrades but also the genins from other villages, all left in awe of the prodigious tales they had just heard. Chapter 46. Just as everyone was stunned by Kabuto's shocking revelations about Jirioku, a thick cloud of smoke parted to reveal the unexpected arrival of Ibiki Marino, accompanied by a group of highly skilled Konoha ninjas. The first round of the exam began immediately after Ibiki thoroughly explained the rules and expectations to the aspiring genin. Time flew by, and before they knew it, the first round was over, accompanied by Naruto's firm proclamation, "I refuse to give up, even if it means remaining a genin for the rest of my life. This unwavering resolve is my true ninja way." After the first round of the Chunin exams, Anko arrived and announced the second round of the exams while reprimanding Ibiki for being too lenient and allowing so many genin to qualify. The next morning, the second round of the Chunin exams took place in the Forest of Death. Orochimaru successfully placed a curse mark on Sasuke, but this time it happened quite differently from the actual events. Orochimaru didn't waste any time and simply whispered a few words of temptation to Sasuke before leaving immediately. This wasn't without reason. The reason for Orochimaru's behavior was that Jiraiya was currently present in the village. Although Jiraiya shouldn't have been there, due to Jirioku's behavior in the past few days and what he said to Asuma, Hiruzen became quite alert. He had an intuition that something big was about to happen, so he called Jiraiya in advance. Since Jiraiya was in the village, Orochimaru had to be extra cautious. As predicted by Orochimaru, as soon as he left after placing the curse mark on Sasuke, Jiraiya arrived. When Jiraiya saw the curse mark on Sasuke, he immediately understood that it was Orochimaru's doing. He quickly ran in the direction where he could sense Orochimaru's chakra. However, someone like Orochimaru couldn't overlook this possibility, so in the end, Jiraiya returned empty-handed. After the second round was over, the prelims took place and the results were no different from the actual result of the prelims from the Naruto anime. The qualified candidates for the third round were Shino, Kankuro, Temari, Shikamaru, Naruto, Neji, Gaara, and Dosu. 1 month's time passed with candidates preparing to be a blockbuster in the upcoming final battle. Everyone did their best, whereas for Jirioku, he had been absent for quite a while. He had hired a ninja team so that no one could approach him and disturb him. Jirioku just focused on training himself, and his every necessity was taken care of by this ninja team. On the day of the Chunin exam, a large crowd gathered at the Chunin exam venue, eager to see the ninjas fight. In this exam, most of the high-level individuals from Konoha were present, which should not have been the case. However, this happened because the Joken of the Fire Country had come in person to see the Chunin exam. Out of respect, the high-level individuals of Konoha had to be present. Joken was seated on the most luxurious seat in the stand, where ministers and officials from different countries were present, while the high-level individuals of Konoha were in the adjacent stand to them. "I don't see Jirioku." "Where is he?" asked Joken. "He didn't come to attend the Chunin exam. He said he will meet you after everything is over," replied one of the Jonin sent to protect her. "Okay," replied Joken. "I hope he doesn't do anything foolish," thought Joken to herself. After that, the Chunin exam started with the first match between Naruto and Neji. In the match, Naruto won with his willpower and the power of the Nine-Tails chakra. Finally, the most anticipated match, at least for those who knew about Konoha's plans, took place. It was the match between Gaara and Sasuke. At the end of the match, Gaara lost control, and Konoha's collapse plan began to unfold. After Kabuto used the Temple of Nirvana technique, almost everyone fell asleep in the exam venue. When the Hokage was trapped, everyone started leaving. Among them were Hayashi and his father, along with Hanabi, who started returning to their clan. Whenever they were met by an enemy, death was the inevitable outcome. When they reached near their clan, they stopped as Jirioku was standing in front of them. "You took quite a long time." "I have been waiting here for you," said Jirioku. As Jirioku said this, he threw 2 scrolls, one for Hayashi and one for the Hyuga elder. After reading the scrolls carefully, they were covered in cold sweat and looked towards Jirioku. "As you might have read everything, you can guess my purpose. So, I will make things clear for you. I don't want to be some blood maniac who loves killing," said Jirioku calmly. He continued, "That's why I give you 2 options. First, you let the main lineage and loyal people of Hyuga Tanai stay inside the clan with the other elders of the Hyuga clan, including yourself, Hyuga elder. The second option is the total annihilation of the Hyuga clan, like the Uchiha clan. And make no mistake, I will not leave any survivors." Hayashi said, "Never. The Hyuga clan will never," but before he could finish, the Hyuga elder placed his hand on Hayashi's shoulder, interrupting him, and looked at Jirioku. "You are a smart person, Hyuga elder. You have done many things for the clan and know what's best for the Hyuga clan. I don't have too much time to waste. I give you 10 seconds to consider," said Jirioku. "So, after this, you won't have enmity with the Hyuga clan?" "Can I trust you on this?" said the Hyuga elder. "If I wanted to have enmity with the Hyuga clan even after this, why would I waste my time talking to you? Instead, I would have just killed the Hyuga clan," said Jirioku. After listening to this, The Hyuga elder nodded. Chapter 47, The Hyuga elder and Hayashi return to the Hyuga clan compound. Hayashi said, "Father, you don't have to do this. We will fight and just need to hold him back until the Hokage is freed. We'll be fine." "Why do you think Jiraiya chose tonight? He must be confident that the Hokage cannot interfere with his plans. And don't tell me that, with your Byakugan, you didn't see Orochimaru inside the purple barrier. You know how powerful Orochimaru is, and there's doubt whether the Hokage, who is getting old, can defeat him. Let's not forget that someone like Jiraiya wouldn't find destroying the Hyuga clan much of a challenge. I promised you that I would sacrifice myself for the Hyuga clan without hesitation, and that time has come," said the Hyuga elder. Hayashi wanted to say something, but the Hyuga elder stopped him and said, "Go quickly and evacuate the Hyuga clan compound with all the branch members. We don't have much time." Hayashi had no choice but to follow his father's orders. He was not only a son but also the clan head. Within minutes, a successful evacuation was completed in the Hyuga clan. Since the Ninetales Rebellion, every clan had made special preparations to ensure that their members could be evacuated quickly if needed. It was because of these preparations that the Hyuga clan could be evacuated so swiftly. In the open space of the Hyuga clan compound, all the elders stood together. "Hyuga elder, why have we been stopped here?" asked one of the old men. "Yes, why are we here when all the other clans people have evacuated?" inquired Hyuga Tanai. "You are all here because I want you to be here," a voice replied, accompanied by the sound of footsteps. Everyone turned their attention to the approaching figure and was shocked to see that it was Jiraiya. "What are you doing here?" Tanai's son asked. "I can sense your shock and fear. Are you afraid that I will find out about that night?" Jiraiya asked. "Which night are you referring to?" Tanai's son replied, his voice trembling. "Exactly the same night you're thinking of, the night you killed my mother," Jiraiya revealed. Upon hearing this, not only did Tanai and his son's faces change, but also those of all the present Hyuga elders. They knew the true reason behind Jiraiya's mother's death. "Somewhere deep inside, I have the desire to torture you for eternity. But I can't bring myself to do that, thanks to what my mother taught me and my personal ethics," Jiraiya said, driving his sword into the ground. "So, by my presence, you all understand that I am here to kill you. But don't worry, I will give you a chance to fight me. I won't use my swordsmanship or my gravity manipulation abilities. Instead, I'll fight using my taijutsu, which is not my strongest point but happens to be your strongest point during battle," Jiraiya declared, keeping his hand behind his back. Initially, the elders were filled with fear, knowing the strength of Jiraiya. However, when they heard his words, they breathed a sigh of relief. "Your biggest mistake will be underestimating us." Underestimating Jiraiya's strength, the elder lunged forward with a swift strike to Jiraiya's face. Jiraiya, on the other hand, had razor-sharp instincts, and with a fluid movement, he gracefully tilted his head, evading the attack just in time. It was an incredible feat of agility. And seeing this as an opening, elder attacked Jiraiya on Jiraiya's chest with his palm, but when his palm hit Jiraiya's chest at that time, Jiraiya's chest was covered with armament haki and the elder felt as if he was hitting iron wall. And not only that, the gentle fist technique also didn't work, as the armament haki covering Jiraiya's chest blocked the chakra outside the body and didn't let it enter the body of Jiraiya. So in the ending, Jiraiya remained unharmed. Whereas Jiraiya surged forward like a bolt of lightning, his leg now wrapped in armament haki, striking the elder with bone-shattering force. The elder was thrown through the air by the sheer force of the kick, his body twisting and contorting unnaturally as his spine snapped, bringing an end to his life. Seeing his comrade's fate, Hyuga Tanai took advantage of the opportunity to strike Jiraiya from the side, believing himself to be within striking distance. Nonetheless, he underestimated Jiraiya's reflexes and the danger he now faced. Jiraiya's index finger, infused with the ferocity of wind chakra nature, shot forward with lightning-quick reflexes, piercing Hyuga Tanai's outstretched hand. A searing pain rushed through Hyuga Tanai's body, causing him to scream. Jiraiya's wind chakra-infused finger ripped through Tanai's hand, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. The wind chakra slashed through Tanai's palm, rendering it useless and leaving him in agony. Tanai's face twisted in agony as he realized the disastrous consequences of his reckless attack. The atmosphere was tense as the two other elders closed in on Juryoku at that critical moment. As they executed the 8 trigrams 64 palms technique, a formidable array of strikes aimed at overwhelming their opponent, their movements were swift and precise. Juryoku, on the other hand, evaded the initial onslaught with the grace of an experienced warrior. Juryoku's hands flashed as the elder's final strike approached, effortlessly intercepting the attacks. The clash of palms reverberated throughout the Hyuga compound, demonstrating Juryoku's formidable skill. As you included me in your range with that, you were also in my range, Juryoku said, and an 8 trigrams 64 palms pattern covered both the elders, and Juryoku launched a barrage of palm strikes, and each palm covered in wind chakra destroyed internal organs of the elders, and the elders died on the spot. Chapter 48. Seeing so many elders die so quickly, the Hyuga elder had no choice but to take action, even though Juryoku's taijutsu was his weakest ability. However, that was according to Juryoku himself, as he was far superior to any of the living members of the Hyuga clan. He knew what awaited him and the others here, death. But he wanted to die with dignity. The Hyuga elder leaped into action, his chakra-infused hand taking the form of a majestic guardian lion. With remarkable speed, he executed the gentle step twin lion fists technique, launching a fierce assault on Juryoku. As their palms collided, the sheer force created a web of cracks, shattering the very ground beneath them. Retreating momentarily, the Hyuga elder seized the opportunity to unleash the 8 trigrams 64 palms combination of this technique with the gentle step twin lion fist intensified his onslaught, amplifying its potency. Undeterred, Juryoku enveloped his hands in a radiant, purple armament haki. With astonishing precision, he effortlessly deflected the Hyuga elder's relentless attacks. Each clash between their palms propelled the elder backward, leaving deep crevices in the battlefield. Despite his valiant efforts, the Hyuga elder struggled to inflict any substantial damage on Juryoku, as his strength waned. Exhausted and nearing his limit, he found himself defenseless as Juryoku unleashed a relentless barrage of palm strikes. Initially managing to deflect a few, the elder eventually succumbed to the overwhelming onslaught. The thunderous impact of Juryoku's strikes ravaged his body, causing fatal internal injuries that ultimately claimed his life. Then Juryoku turned around and said, "From the very beginning, I told you that no one can leave here, right?" 3 elders were lying on the ground. They witnessed the Hyuga elder's futile fight against Juryoku and realized that defeating Juryoku was impossible. Seeing the fight between Juryoku and the Hyuga elder as an opportunity, they attempted to flee. However, when they were about 50 meters away from Juryoku, they suddenly felt an intense weight, rendering them unable to stand, and they eventually collapsed to the ground. "As you broke the rules I set, you are not needed," said Juryoku. When his words fell, he waved his hand in an arc, and 2 wind slashes cut the bodies of the 2 elders in half. He could have just crushed them with gravity, but he needed something from all of them, so he couldn't afford to destroy the corpses of any Hyuga, especially their faces. After that, there was no one strong enough to even fight Juryoku for 1 round, given these conditions. One by one, members of the Hyuga clan fell to the ground. Among these dead Hyuga ninja, some were from the branch family and remained loyal to Hyuga Tanai. Finally, only Juryoku remained standing in the middle, surrounded by the corpses of Hyuga clan members. Obviously, Hyuga Tanai and his son were purposefully left alive by Juryoku. Juryoku stepped in front of Tanai's son and said, "You like to let others feel pain and enjoy it, right? Then I will also let you experience it." After Juryoku's voice fell, he raised his hand towards the broken walls, and 4 rods came flying towards him. He redirected them towards Tanai's son, pinning him to the ground. Juryoku covered his hand with armament haki and formed a small wind release, Raisin Shuriken, which he threw towards Tanai's son. As the Raisin Shuriken came near Tanai's son, Juryoku increased gravity, causing the speed of the wind release, Raisin Shuriken, to become extremely slow. It first hit Tanai's son's leg, tearing it with countless wind needles, and continued moving upwards. Hearing the scream of agony coming from Tanai's son, Jirioku said, "It seems that sometimes letting your inner demons come out is really satisfying." After saying this, he went and gouged out Tanai's son's Byakugan. "What are you trying to do by taking my son's eye?" said Hyuga Tanai, while Jirioku's actions caused Tanai's son to scream even louder. "You will also have the same fate," said Jirioku in a cold voice. "Wait!" Tanai wanted to say something, but before he could finish, his head was severed. "So much nonsense from a dying person," said Jirioku disdainfully. After that, he gouged out every last Byakugan from every fallen Hyuga clan member, and the system recorded it as task progress. After completing all of this, Jirioku took some flowers from the garden just a few meters away from him and went to the cemetery of the Hyuga clan where his mother and father were buried. After cleaning their graves with his own hands, he could have used wind to clean the grave, but he chose not to. He placed the flowers on top. "Sorry for not visiting you both for such a long time, but the circumstances prevented me from doing so," Jirioku said. "I have avenged you, mother. Now you can rest in peace, as your murderers are dead," Jirioku assured. "And father, today I will avenge you too. Danzo will not live to see another day," Jirioku declared. After conveying these messages to his mother and father, he bowed to both of their graves and said, "Thank you for giving me this life." He then left the cemetery and finally exited the Hyuga clan compound. However, as soon as he stepped out of the compound, he saw standing in front of him one of the Sannin, Jiraiya. Kakashi, Might Guy, and other Jonin and elite Jonin were with him. Chapter 49. 10 minutes had to go when one of the ANBU ninja finally arrived at the location where the third Hokage Hiruzen had taken his last breath and now lay on the ground. He was surrounded by Jiraiya, Kakashi, Guy, and other Jonins. As the ANBU ninjas saw the lifeless body of the Hokage, he was stunned, and a profound silence overtook him, as if he had been struck by the force of thunder itself. He even forgot momentarily that he had come to report an important piece of news. With a mix of frustration and concern, Jiraiya inquired, "Where is Jirioku? I didn't see him anywhere." Neither was he defending the village against the serpents, nor was he here to protect the Hokage. What the hell is he doing at a time like this? Even with all this commotion, he remains nowhere to be seen. For someone as powerful as him, a sense of responsibility towards the village's affairs should be a given. The anger in his tone was unmistakable, and deep down, he couldn't help but wonder if Jirioku's presence might have prevented his teacher's unfortunate demise. Kakashi responded, trying to shed some light on the situation. "We don't know the exact circumstances surrounding Jirioku, but ever since his return, he hasn't been seen outside his house much." As soon as the name of Jirioku was mentioned, something triggered in the mind of the ANBU ninja, and he remembered the reason he came here. If it had been any time before, the Jonins present would have asked why the ANBU ninja was in such a hurry. However, they assumed that the ANBU ninja came after hearing the news of the Hokage's death. The ANBU ninja, now back to his senses, said, "Jiraiya-sama, Jirioku is killing the members of the Hyuga clan. It appears that he has targeted the elders of the Hyuga clan and a few other members." "What?" Everyone present was stunned upon hearing the ANBU ninja's words. "Are you sure it was Jirioku, the same Raijin no Jirioku?" asked Yamanaka Inoichi. "Yes, no one except him has the strength to toy with the elders of the Hyuga clan," replied the ANBU ninja. "His perception is too powerful. It is said that he can sense almost everything within a 50-kilometer radius." "So, are you saying he let you go even after you witnessed him killing the elders?" asked Shikaku. After hearing Shikaku's words, everyone's eyes became sharp, as they realized the magnitude of the disaster they had just faced and couldn't risk another one. The ANBU ninja became flustered under the sharp gazes of so many elite ninjas present. At this time, Hyuga Hayashi came forward and said, "What the ANBU ninja is saying is correct." "But why would Jirioku do such a thing?" asked Inoichi. Hayashi was embarrassed to tell the truth, but he knew that he had to tell the truth if he wanted to save his father. He had wanted to come earlier, but on his way, he met many Sunagakure ninjas. As the clan head of the Hyuga clan, They stopped him, and he was compelled to fight. It's like this. After that, Hayashi explained how he met Jurioku and how Jurioku gave them two choices. It seems that the reason for Jurioku's outbreak on that day was probably this news he received, said Kakashi. Just because of the branch family policy in your clan, this is happening. If you had punished that man honestly, then probably Jurioku wouldn't have taken such a drastic step, said Inoichi, angrily pointing at Hayashi. Every clan has its own rules. It's not your turn to point fingers at my clan, retorted Hayashi. It's not the time for you all to bicker among yourselves, said Jiraiya, interrupting both Inoichi and Hayashi. Let's go and see what is happening first, said Jiraiya. Wait a minute, said Hayashi. Everyone stopped and looked at Hayashi. There is one more thing, Jirioku's next target is maybe Shimura Danzo, said Hayashi. What? But why? Asked Jiraiya. How dare he target an elder of Konoha, came the old voice of a woman. It was Koharu, a member of the Konoha Council. Jiraiya looked sharply at Koharu, making her quiet down, and Hamura, who wanted to speak, also stopped after seeing the eyes of Jiraiya. Jiraiya then turned towards Hayashi and said, "Continue what you were saying." Then Hayashi told everything about the death of Jirioku's father. Everyone became silent after hearing this because now they knew that it was almost impossible to stop Jirioku. And if they dared to stop him, they would have to face Jirioku himself. At present, outside the Hyuga clan compound, Jirioku was standing opposite Jiraiya and other elite jonins. I know everything that has happened with your parents, but believe me, revenge is not the correct way to go. If you stop right now, I will try my best to exempt you from any charges, said Jiraiya first. Although I'm only 13, don't think of me as a gullible child. According to the rules of Konoha, killing a fellow ninja from the village without any proper evidence and order of the Hokage is a crime and is more than enough for anyone to be declared as a rogue ninja. Not to mention, I have killed so many members of the Hyuga clan, said Jirioku calmly. And just as Jiraiya wanted to say more, he was interrupted by a roar. It was the roar of the One-Tail, and it was just a few meters away from the Hyuga clan compound where Jiraiya and Jirioku were standing. How is this possible? Shouldn't the One-Tail have been defeated by Naruto, and Gaara must have calmed down and left Konoha by now? But what is he doing here? Jirioku thought to himself. The One-Tail roared again and started gathering red and blue chakra, forming a tailed beast bomb. Seeing this, the faces of everyone present here changed and became solemn, but when they saw the aim, the tailed beast bomb was aimed towards Jirioku. Chapter 50. After meticulously completing the tailed beast bomb's brewing process, One-Tail unleashed its might on Jirioku, who stood firm, ready to face the powerful attack head-on. Are you targeting me because of the hostility of your host towards me? Said Jirioku while taking out his sword and covering it with armament haki. Jirioku continued speaking, and here I thought that tailed beasts are quite rebellious and don't listen to their host and don't give a damn about the feelings of their host. On the side of Jiraiya, he said, whoever is proficient in earth release, use it to create mud walls to prevent the damage from spreading from the Hyuga clan. And every ninja who is weak, leave this place immediately, this is not where you should be. After getting orders from Jiraiya, every shinobi was just about to do that, but before they could do anything, they felt something and looked in the direction of Jirioku. When they saw Jirioku, they were shocked. Jirioku was holding his sword above his head, and his sword was covered with armament haki. A huge amount of gravity was concentrated on his sword, and the extent of this gravity could be assumed from the deep hole just below the sword and a shallow pit around Jirioku. Jirioku performed a swift horizontal slash with his sword, unleashing a purple crescent-shaped wave of intensified gravity. As the wave traveled through the air, it gained momentum and power. Finally, it passed through the tailed beast bomb and cut One-Tail in half like a hot knife cutting through butter. The tailed beast bomb blasted with a boom, causing a huge shockwave, but before the shockwave could travel further from the place of impact, Jirioku waved his hand and subjected a huge amount of gravity at the place of impact, containing the shockwave and blast, preventing any further damage. I can't let such a blast disturb the grave of my parents inside the Hyuga clan, said Jirioku while sheathing his sword back into its sheath. And the one tail, which was cut in half, was totally destroyed like a statue as Jirioku used gravity. The moment it was cut, the two halves of one tail were repelled in the opposite direction, causing it to crumble like a statue, and slowly it gathered itself and roared, but suddenly it started becoming small because Gaara was awake from the impact. Gaara was awake, and One Tail lost his control over Gaara at this time. Gamabunta, with Naruto, came first, followed by Sasuke and Sakura from behind. Jirioku didn't care about them or anyone else. He then turned towards Jiraiya and said, I want to make one thing clear to you. I don't intend to do anything harmful to Konoha, especially something that would cause my friends and those who take pride in being associated with Rajin no Jirioku to be ashamed when they talk about me. So let me finish my revenge, and I will leave Konoha quietly without causing any damage. What do you think? You mean you are going to attack Danzo next and complete your revenge, correct? Said Jiraiya. It seems that you have figured it out. Yes, my next target will be Danzo and those two ANBU ninja who returned my father's body to the Hyuga clan, said Jirioku, then turning towards Koharu and Hamura. Am I correct, two elders of the Konoha Council? As soon as Jirioku's voice fell, both elders backed away in fear, their frightened expressions and sweaty faces clearly revealing their trepidation. They had just witnessed the immense power Jirioku possessed, as he subdued One Tail in an instant. They had seen Hiruzen at his peak, and even then, it was uncertain if he could achieve such a feat. Deep down, they knew the identities of those two ANBU ninjas, and their fear was justified. And their behavior was observed by Jiraiya and other ninjas present here. Why are you trembling in fear? Tell me, do you know something or are you involved in this? Asked Jiraiya. Nothing, we know nothing about this, said Hamura, wiping sweat from his head. Then why are you so flustered? Asked Shikaku. At this time, Jirioku spoke, they are old and may have forgotten things. Let me remind them. They wanted the Wind Chakra mode and offered my father a deal. They promised him a good position that would grant him and his family a better life, free from being treated as slaves within the Hyuga clan. However, my father outright refused their offer. So, they conspired with Danzo to capture him and used a member of the Yamanaka clan to read my father's mind. Is this correct? Asked Jiraiya, to which both remained quiet. Seeing this, Jiraiya asked in frustration, but you are members of the Konoha Council, and not only that, you are very good friends of the teacher. This gives you access to almost all ninjutsu that are not forbidden. To make their clan known for the Wind Chakra mode, just like the Sarutobi clan is known for their fire release, though, it's another matter that they are far worse than the Uchiha clan. Coincidentally, they got a chance just 3 days after my father rejected their offer, that is, on the night of the Nine Tails attack. After failing to get what they wanted, they went to the Hyuga clan disguised as ANBU members to deliver my father's body, and they revealed their identity to the elders. As a result, the matter was suppressed. Why would the elders of Hyuga clan offend elders of Konoha just for a mere branch member, and that too who is dead? So my father's death was attributed to the Nine Tails attack. Even my mother was killed because of this. She was tortured to force her to reveal information about the Wind Chakra mode to the Hyuga clan elder's son, said Jirioku. This is all a lie. What evidence do you have? Said Koharu. Firstly, from the emotions I perceive from you, I am now 100% certain. Before, I wasn't sure. Secondly, when you are strong enough, your decisions cannot be easily swayed, said Jirioku, releasing his conqueror's haki. Chapter 51. As soon as Jirioku released his conquerors, everyone below Jonin fainted. Even the special Jonins had difficulty standing. Although Hamura and Koharu were once elite Jonins in the past, their strength has deteriorated significantly. On top of that, the fear of Jirioku made them faint immediately. Jirioku, calm down. I sympathize with what happened to you, and don't worry, the next Hokage will surely punish these two based on their heinous act, if it is proven, said Jiraiya, trying to convince Jirioku. Yes, Jirioku, don't worry. I myself will read their minds, and these elders will surely get punished, said Yamanaka Inoichi. And don't worry about Danzo. I will surely find proof against him, and he will also be punished accordingly by the new Hokage, said Jiraiya. Really? Then you must have found the proof against him when he destroyed the Senju clan, or when he forced Hatake Tsukumo to death, or when he plotted against the fourth Hokage and caused his death, or when he slaughtered the whole Uchiha clan. Let's talk about recent events. Where is Danzo and his roots when Konoha is on the brink of destruction by Orochimaru? The list goes on like this, and I can't even count the dark deeds done by that Danzo. Till now you were unable to find the proofs, now you will suddenly find proofs against him, said Jirioku, not so much questioning but rather mocking Jiraiya. Everyone here, especially people in power like Ino Shikacho, knew things about Danzo in one way or another, but they didn't have any evidence to prove him wrong. Shikaku also doubted that Danzo was somehow involved in the death of the fourth Hokage, as only the members of the Konoha Council and Danzo knew the location where Kushina Uzumaki was going to give birth. They suspected that Danzo had set up the fourth Hokage so that he could take over as Hokage. Although everyone present became quiet after hearing Jirioku's retort, one person became violent and shouted, "What do you mean by saying that Danzo slaughtered the whole Uchiha clan? Wasn't the Uchiha clan destroyed by Uchiha Itachi?" It was Sasuke who shouted. Jirioku turned towards him and said, "If you really think that Uchiha Itachi could wipe out one of the most elite clans in Konoha without making a sound, then either you are naive or you don't want to believe that Konoha is against your clan." "Damn you!" Sasuke shouted, but before he could move any further, he was knocked out by Kakashi. Kakashi held Sasuke and then looked towards Naruto, saying, "I am giving you a mission to take Sakura and Sasuke out of here." And Naruto, who knew almost nothing about what was going on, took the unconscious Sasuke and Sakura with him and left, while Gaara, who was also conscious, took Temari and Kankuro with him and left. N. According to me, Naruto and Sasuke have very strong willpower since they were kids, so they didn't faint. Jiraiya knew that if he let Jirioku continue speaking, ninjas from Konoha might lose faith in Konoha and its management. So he said, "Even if what you said may be correct, that doesn't justify killing anyone just because you have strength. Everything has its process, and you have to abide by it. Don't mistake yourselves, I'm not asking you for anything. It's just that I don't want to do anything excessive to Konoha, but it seems that you don't care about Konoha's well-being," said Jirioku. As soon as Jirioku's voice fell, Might Guy appeared in front of Jirioku with his sixth gate active and punched Jirioku on his face, saying, "Before harming Konoha, you have to deal with the blue beast of Konoha." But Jirioku, whom Might Guy punched, disappeared. It was an afterimage of Jirioku. The real Jirioku appeared beside Might Guy, covered in wind and lightning, using Storm Chakra mode. Jirioku, with a crutch covered in armament haki, hit Guy, causing Guy to fly away and destroying the houses that came in his way. Jirioku then turned towards Jiraiya and said, "It seems that you won't allow me to leave like this." Jirioku could have fought Jiraiya first and defeated him, but he could perceive with his observation haki that Danzo was leaving Konoha. Maybe Danzo received the news that he was going to kill him, and Jirioku didn't want to waste his time like this and miss such a golden opportunity to eliminate Danzo completely. Jirioku unsheathed his sword and pointed it towards the sky. Multiple purple circles traveled towards the sky, and Jirioku swung the sword downward. Jiraiya was ready to defend against the attack from Jirioku, but nothing happened even after Jirioku swung his sword. This confused Jiraiya greatly. He looked up at the sky, but he didn't see anything. However, just as he was about to look back at Jirioku, he noticed a small red dot that slowly grew bigger and bigger. When Jiraiya looked back towards Jirioku, Jirioku was nowhere to be seen. At this time, Might Guy also came running, and just as he wanted to pursue Jirioku, he was stopped by Kakashi. "Wait, Guy, and first of all, calm down. We will need you here. If I am guessing correctly, it's much more necessary for you to remain here rather than going after Jirioku," said Kakashi while removing his left eye's forehead protector and revealing his Sharingan, and seeing this Guy also stopped because he knows Kakashi never uses Sharingan unless absolutely necessary. As the dot grew bigger, Kakashi could see it too, and it was covered in fire. It's definitely a meteor, he said, and then looked towards Jiraiya, asking, Jiraiya-sama, can you calculate in which direction the meteor will fall? Jiraiya shook his head in response and said, it's impossible to guess its trajectory from this far, but it is surely a meteor, and a big one at that. Sigh, why is a strong person like Jiraiya willing to betray the Konoha village? Said Jiraiya. It's impossible for us to go after him until we deal with the meteor, as it might fall on important places in Konoha. All Jonins, be ready. Now, we can only save Konoha from such a predicament, said Jiraiya with a serious face. Chapter 52. A few minutes ago, Danzo was waiting for the results of the Konoha collapse plan inside the root base. At this time, a root ninja came running with urgency and knelt in front of Danzo, saying, Danzo-sama, I bring urgent news. Hearing the urgency in the root ninja's tone, Danzo asked, what made you so flustered? Danzo-sama, Jiraiya is planning to attack you, said the root ninja. What? Danzo was surprised by this sudden revelation and asked in a commanding tone, explain properly. After the battle with Orochimaru, the third Hokage died, and at that time, when everyone was mourning, suddenly, the root ninja explained everything he heard and saw at the Chunin exam venue. Danzo's face became solemn after hearing this, and he looked at the dark corner of the root base and said, come. Two ninjas came and knelt in front of Danzo. They were Fuyamanaka and Torian Aburame. Torian, send your bugs to investigate what is happening and see if Jiraiya is captured by Jiraiya or not, ordered Danzo. Upon hearing Danzo's order, Torian said, yes, Danzo-sama, and left immediately. After leaving the root base, Torian sent his bugs towards the Hyuga clan compound to search for the news. As the tremor was contained by Jiraiya, it wasn't felt across Konoha. After a few minutes, the bugs sent by Torian Aburame returned with the news, and he immediately went back in front of Danzo. He knelt down and reported everything seen by his bugs, including the part where Jiraiya split the tailed beast bomb in half. Even Torian found it unbelievable while explaining. Danzo was quiet for a few seconds and said, it seems that his strength has increased exponentially even further. Although it is impossible for him to come here, considering there is Jiraiya, Kakashi, and my guy. But for caution, it is best that we move to the root base 2 miles away from Konoha. Assemble, we will be leaving right now, said Danzo. The whole root organization started moving like a machine, and within minutes, they began leaving Konoha. At the same time, Jiraiya saw them leaving Konoha, so he sped things up on his side. At present, Danzo was moving at an incredible speed, and behind him followed the members of Root Ninjas. He had already left Konoha and was about 100 meters away from it. One of the Root Ninjas in the rear felt something and turned with his sword in hand. He attempted to use the assassination technique, which is a basic technique learned by every Root Ninja, towards his back, but his body, along with his sword, was cut in half before he could even react. Enemy attack, shouted the ninja in the rear, but as soon as he spoke, he was also killed in an instant like the ninja who was beside him. Hearing the shout of the Root Ninja, Danzo also stopped and looked at the rear. Slowly, the figure of Jiraiya, covered in Storm Chakra mode, became clearly visible. Seeing Jiraiya present here, Danzo was surprised. Why are you here? Weren't you stopped by Jiraiya and others? Jiraiya pointed towards the sky, and Danzo looked at the sky above Konoha. He saw a huge meteor falling with incredible speed towards the Hokage Rock, and according to his calculations, the meteor was almost 1500 m in diameter. Did you think I would let you slide so easily after what you did to my father? Said Jiraiya to Danzo. Are you going to rebel, Jiraiya? Said Danzo. You worry about yourself. Becoming a rebel is not something I have to worry about, said Jiraiya. Danzo knew that it was impossible to avoid this battle, so he looked towards the Root Ninjas and said, Fu, Torian, along with the other ninjas of Root, assist me. As soon as Danzo's voice fell, Fu and Torian took the lead and attacked Jiraiya. He is very good at close combat. The rest of you, wait for me to take over his mind, and as soon as I successfully do so, attack with a barrage of ninjutsus, said Fu to the other Root Ninjas. The root ninjas acknowledged Fu's orders, and upon seeing this, Fu came near Jirioku and used the mind-body switch technique. As soon as Fu used the mind-body switch technique, he fell to the ground. But as his spirit came near Jirioku, Jirioku used his conqueror's haki and shouted, "How dare you!" Fu's spirit was hit hard, and it returned back to his body, causing him to cough up blood. However, no one cared for him, and seeing this as a chance, the other root ninjas attacked Jirioku with different kinds of ninjutsu from their arsenal. Jirioku didn't fluster for a bit and raised his hand, using gravity push. Not only were the ninjutsus made useless, but even the ninjas from Root were pushed back for quite a long distance. Finally, Danzo was able to remove the sealing arm braces from his hand. It seems that you have been able to remove the seal from the Sharingan, and it seems that you only have 5 Sharingans with you. At least with my actions on the Uchiha Massacre night, I was able to reduce the number of times I have to kill you, said Jirioku. Hearing this, Danzo was stunned, and anger was clearly visible on his face. He said, "So my guess was correct. You were the one who killed so many of my root ninjas and took all the Sharingan with you on the day of the Uchiha Massacre." "Yes," replied Jirioku. Suddenly, there was a boom, and Danzo looked in the direction of Konoha, where a big ball of Rasengan was colliding with the meteor. It was obviously Jiraiya who was using it. "It seems that I have to be quick, or else it will become difficult to kill you," said Jirioku, raising his hand and using gravity pull. Danzo tried resisting by using his chakra, but he was sucked in the direction of Jirioku without any resistance. However, Danzo was also someone who had fought many battles, so he countered by attacking Jirioku and used Wind Release, Vacuum Sphere, attacking in Jirioku's direction. Jirioku, not wanting to be affected by this, used Gravity Push in response. Chapter 53. As soon as Jirioku used Gravity Push on Danzo, Danzo was sent flying away and dragged along the ground. Since Jirioku only used Gravity Push on Danzo, Torian got a chance to close in on Jirioku. He opened his gloves, and his fist turned completely purple. With his fist, he attacked Jirioku. This attack was also sensed by Jirioku using his observation haki. Jirioku noticed the violently moving chakra of the approaching ninja and recognized that it was Torian. Only Torian's chakra appeared violently moving due to the nano-level bugs that moved inside his body. Among all the root ninjas, Torian's ability made Jirioku particularly cautious. Despite having confidence in his armament haki, Jirioku didn't want to be affected by Torian's nano-bugs and take any risks. So, he immediately used 15 times gravity to hold Torian in place, rendering his nano-bugs immobile. Just as Jirioku was about to end Torian's life with a casual wave of wind slash, he suddenly sensed that Fu was about to use the mind transfer technique on him again. In response, he immediately disappeared from the place and reappeared above Fu's head. It wasn't that Fu couldn't sense Jirioku's presence above his head, but Jirioku was in Storm Chakra mode, and his speed was extremely fast. Even though Fu could sense Jirioku's attack, he couldn't react in time. As a result, his head was swiftly cut off by Jirioku's sword. Seeing Fu's head cut off, Danzo only felt like he had lost an important tool. Torian and Fu were the ones with the best abilities among all his subordinates, but he didn't care much about Fu's death. Instead, he saw it as an opportunity, considering that Jirioku was standing almost in the middle of the encirclement of root ninjas. Danzo gave the order, "Attack him and don't let him leave easily." After receiving the order from Danzo, 10 ninjas from Root used the confinement barrier jutsu, creating a barrier around Jirioku and trapping him inside. Only 5 Root ninjas remained to fight Jirioku. "Jirioku, it was your biggest mistake to attack me. I will kill you just like I killed your father. You may not have a curse seal, but don't worry, I have many more methods to make you feel pain," said Danzo from the sidelines. "Do you think you can shake my mentality with this? And do you truly believe these trash ninjas of yours can stop me or even hold me?" replied Jirioku. After saying this, Jirioku stabbed his sword into the ground and used a move called Gravitational Tether. As a result, the ground within the radius started moving towards Jirioku, affecting both the root ninjas who were about to attack him and the ninjas who had created the barrier. The barrier became unstable and collapsed immediately. The root ninjas tried to leave, but to their horror, the ground acted like a hand and grabbed their feet, completely immobilizing them. They were helplessly dragged towards Juryoku, who effortlessly made casual attacks, resulting in the death of the root ninjas without any resistance. Juryoku's move, gravitational tether, creates a localized distortion in the gravitational field, allowing him to control the ground and manipulate it as he pleases. Now, only Danzo with Torian was left alive. Juryoku knew he didn't have much time before Jiraiya could completely free himself, so he immediately attacked Danzo. Danzo also wielded the sword of Torian and infused it with wind release, vacuum blade, increasing the sharpness of the sword. The clash between Juryoku and Danzo's swords occurred, and despite considering Danzo a mere trash in his mind, Juryoku couldn't help but praise Danzo's swordsmanship, which he had honed in countless battles. As the swords of both collided continuously, Danzo's sword started to develop cracks. Not only was Juryoku's sword blessed with storm chakra, but it was also covered in armament haki. Witnessing his sword cracking, Danzo wanted to leave, but he couldn't, as Juryoku was not someone with weak swordsmanship. Even though Juryoku's skill was only 70% of Fujitora's, Danzo's best efforts were in vain, and ultimately, Danzo's sword broke. As soon as Danzo's sword broke, it didn't take long for Juryoku to seize the opportunity, swiftly cutting Danzo in half horizontally. Both halves of Danzo fell to the ground. Seeing this, Torian expressed regret for not being able to fight alongside Danzo. Due to being suppressed by gravity, Torian couldn't even speak. Juryoku noticed Torian's regret with his observation haki and turned towards him, saying, "Don't worry, I haven't forgotten about you." With that, Juryoku swung his sword straight, releasing a wave of sword slash that instantly killed Torian. Danzo took advantage of this instant and sneak attacked Juryoku from behind with his kunai covered in wind chakra. However, Juryoku showcased his incredible reflexes. He swiftly turned around and used his sword to cut the hand of Danzo that was carrying the kunai. Then, he moved forward and once again sliced Danzo in half diagonally. As before, the body of Danzo disappeared after falling to the ground. Danzo reappeared, but this time he was far away from Juryoku. Instead of directly attacking Juryoku, he used the summoning technique and summoned Baku. Baku appeared with a roar and immediately attempted to use suction on Juryoku in an attempt to draw him in. However, Juryoku remained steady and didn't budge from his place. Danzo used the earth release, hiding like a mole technique to move in the direction of Juryoku, intending to go behind him and use wind release, vacuum serial waves, which would become even more powerful with the help of Baku's suction. This didn't escape the observation haki of Juryoku. He looked at Baku and said, "You want to swallow, right? Then swallow." After saying this, Juryoku tapped his sword on the ground, and the ground in front of him started rising precisely towards Baku. The amusing thing was that Danzo, who was traveling towards Juryoku, was also affected. He started rising with the ground, held by the soils and rocks, and was shot towards Baku as well. Once both Danzo and Baku were in the same line, Juryoku gripped his sword and concentrated gravity on it. With a powerful swing, he directed his sword towards Baku and Danzo. Gravity Blade, Raging Tiger. Chapter 54. Everything in the trajectory of slash made by Juryoku was twisted in a spiral and destroyed. Whether it was Danzo or Baku, nothing was spared. The upper half of Danzo's body completely disappeared, and his lower body fell to the ground. Baku's body was also clearly destroyed, with 1/4 of his entire half-body missing. Obviously, Baku was also dead, and his huge body fell to the ground. Danzo's lower body on the ground disappeared, and he reappeared standing a considerable distance away from Juryoku. The third eye on his hand was now closed, with only one eye remaining on his hand, along with Shirsue's eye and his right eye socket. As Juryoku waited for Danzo to appear, he immediately disappeared from the place. As soon as Danzo appeared, he saw a stream of light coming in his direction. He promptly dodged, but as he tried to move again, he was cut in half. This time, Juryoku was faster than before because he had decreased the gravity around him, allowing him to move at an incredible speed. Danzo, who had been cut in half, disappeared and reappeared once more. However, this time, all the Sharingans in his possession were rendered useless due to continuous use of his Anaji. Consequently, there was nothing to balance the Hashirama cells in his right hand, leading them to become restless and spiral out of control, ultimately growing into a large tree-like entity. In order to protect himself from the adverse effects, Danzo had to make the difficult decision of cutting off his own hand. Panting heavily, Danzo expressed his frustration. Do I really have to resort to using his Anaji with Shirsui's eyes? Damn it! But I can't afford to lose such a powerful dojutsu. No, I can't die like this. I must become Hokage and unite this ninja world to establish absolute peace. Looking in Juryoku's direction, Danzo pleaded, Listen, Juryoku, killing me won't accomplish anything. If you spare my life, I promise to bring your parents back to life. Just let me live, and you can lead a happy life with your family. Juryoku responded, the same technique Orochimaru used to revive the past Hokages, the impure world reincarnation? Why would I use such a ninjutsu, where people remain forever trapped in the cycle of death? If I wanted to revive my parents, I could have attacked Sunagakure and obtained the reincarnation technique created by Chiyo, which is more potent. However, I have no desire to disturb the dead. My parents have already endured enough darkness in this world. Now, they deserve to find peace in the afterlife. Juryoku attacked Danzo after saying this, as he could perceive that the meteor had already been dealt with by Jiraiya and others. With the failure of his previous attempts, Danzo was now left with only one choice and one chance to survive, but for that, he had to lose Shirsui's eyes. Using his left hand, he tore his upper clothes, revealing 4 symbols on his body. Juryoku was closing in rapidly, and upon sensing Danzo losing his life force rapidly and bleeding profusely, Juryoku immediately understood that Danzo had used the reverse 4 symbols sealing technique. Juryoku's expression changed, and he swiftly employed the gravity blast technique, causing everything in front of him, including himself and Danzo, to be repelled and pushed back a considerable distance. Slowly, black blood spread from Danzo's body, forming a huge black sphere at its center. Everything within a 5-meter radius was engulfed and sealed within Danzo's lifeless form. Danzo appeared again, but this time, as soon as he materialized, he fell to the ground, utterly exhausted from expending almost all his chakra in the previous move, coupled with his use of his Anaji. Juryoku appeared in front of Danzo, standing firmly before him, and said, Danzo, you are truly one of the most feared individuals when it comes to research and planning. However, sometimes, when strength surpasses a certain limit, no matter how meticulous one is, victory becomes unattainable. This is something I can guarantee. You're right about that, replied Danzo. I must admit, I have predicted numerous ways in which I could have died or should have died, yet somehow, I always managed to survive. But never in my life did I imagine that I would be killed by a blind ninja. Go on your way and apologize to my parents, but I doubt you feel any remorse for your actions, Juryoku said while raising his sword. Danzo responded, You're correct. I don't regret anything because everything I do is for the sake of Konoha. A true shinobi always remains in the shadows, bearing the burden of protecting the villagers and commoners without seeking recognition. I have lived such a life. His voice carried a hint of pride for his statement. You know, Danzo, you are quite a contradictory person, Juryoku remarked. On one hand, you advocate for a shinobi to remain in the shadows, protecting others without expecting acknowledgement. Yet, you always yearn to step into the light by becoming Hokage, striving for recognition and admiration as a hero. Danzo fell silent upon hearing this, and Juryoku shook his head before swiftly beheading him. Chapter 55. A few minutes ago, Jiraiya and other ninjas were waiting for the meteor to come close so that they could predict its path. When they calculated the direct impact area of the meteor, they realized it was near the Hokage Rock, where all the civilians were located and needed to be evacuated. Moreover, if the Hokage Rock was damaged, the entire Konoha village would suffer. However, when the ninjas of Konoha village saw the size of the meteor, they became flustered, as its sheer diameter was almost 1 mile. Despite their anxiety, when they saw Jiraiya, they knew they also had a chance to fight back. After Jiraiya left, he summoned Fukasaku and Shima. N. Here Jiraiya is at his peak without much of a fight, that's why he able to summon Fukasaku and Shima so quickly. Jiraiya boy, why did you summon us? Asked Fukasaku as soon as he appeared. I need your help to save Konoha from the upcoming danger of the meteor, said Jiraiya, pointing towards the sky. Fukasaku and Shima also saw the falling meteor, and their faces became serious. They nodded and went on the shoulders of Jiraiya. Jiraiya started entering the Sage mode because he knew that, in his base form, it was impossible for him to defend against such a meteor. For the safety of other Konoha village members, he asked Fukasaku to summon Gamahiro and Gamaken so that they could defend against the falling debris of the meteor. Jiraiya was already low on chakra after summoning Fukasaku and Shima, and on top of that, he had to defend against the meteor. At this time, Guy, who was with Kakashi, said, "It's time for the blue beast of Konoha to shine." Kakashi also nodded, knowing that if Guy really goes into that 8 gates mode, their chances of defending against the meteor would increase significantly. Slowly, the meteor came near, and as soon as it was within range, Jiraiya said to Gamabunta, "Throw me in the air towards the meteor." Gamabunta did just that and threw Jiraiya in the air towards the meteor. Jiraiya started creating a Rasengan, and soon the Rasengan became huge in size. Powered by the Sage mode, the Rasengan became even more powerful, making it one of the most potent jutsu in Jiraiya's arsenal, known as the Sage Art, Giant Rasengan. As soon as the Rasengan collided with the meteor cracked open, and the Rasengan easily blasted through it. N. Despite the name Sage Art and Rasengan, it became evident during Jiraiya's battle with 6 Paths of Pain that he was unable to infuse chakra into his jutsus. Instead, only his taijutsu became stronger. After getting hit by the giant Rasengan, the meteor was separated into many parts, but 2 big pieces of meteor still remained. Guy, who was standing ready, immediately went into the 7th gate form of the 8 gates. As soon as he reached the 7th gate, he stretched his hand forward and created a fist with the other hand. "I will be using your back, Mr. Gamabunta, please forgive me." He ran on the back of Gamabunta to get near the falling meteor and punched forward, forming a tiger, his most powerful attack under the 8th gate, known as the Daytime Tiger. A white tiger shot upward and collided with one of the big pieces, completely destroying it. Meanwhile, Jiraiya, who was still in the air, formed another Sage Art, Giant Rasengan, and again hit the remaining part of the meteor, destroying it. Even after destroying the meteor into many parts, there were still many big rocks falling, which could cause harm. Jiraiya didn't have enough chakra to use other powerful ninjutsu, so he used Wild Lion's main technique to catch the meteors and make them collide with each other, thus destroying them. Guy faced a similar situation, unable to use another Daytime Tiger technique, but with his taijutsu in the 7th gate form, he moved from one stone to another, destroying them one by one. The remaining stones falling down on the ground were dealt with by Kakashi, who used Chidori to destroy them, and Asuma, who used his wind blades to cut the rocks into many pieces. Other ninjas were also doing their best in any way possible. As the meteor was very hot and burning, many ninjas used different water release techniques to extinguish the fire. Following Jiraiya's request, Gamahiro and Gamaken continuously deflected the falling meteor pieces away from Konoha or towards empty spaces. If they could destroy the rocks, they did so. In the end, it took the effort of everyone for Konoha to survive this meteor fall. If the meteor had landed on Konoha, the village would have been almost completely destroyed. Jiraiya sat on the ground, panting heavily, having exhausted his chakra. Fukasaku and Shima were sitting on Jiraiya's shoulder, praising him for his feat. Guy also fell to the ground, experiencing the side effects of the 8 gates. His muscle fibers were ruptured, and he was in a state where touching him would cause immense pain. "It appears you managed to handle the meteor. But I expected nothing less from a user of Sage Mode and the 8 inner gates," came the voice, and it was Jurioku speaking. When everyone saw Juryoku, anger filled the air, but their anger quickly transformed into surprise as they noticed Juryoku's hand firmly holding Danzo's head by the hair. Chapter 56, Is that Elder Danzo's head, right? Asked one of the jonin who were present here. Yes, he is Elder Danzo, replied one of the Umbu ninja. Most of the ninjas present here don't know who Danzo is, except for some experienced jonin and all Umbu ninjas. Narashikaku sighed and shook his head, knowing that it's now impossible for anyone to prevent Juryoku from becoming a missing nin. You really killed Danzo. Even if you surrender, you can't escape the punishment, said Jiraiya. As if I would have been spared before. And don't overestimate yourself, Jiraiya. You are not powerful enough to make me careful. The only person I feared, and who could have easily defeated me, is Might Guy. My objective from the beginning was to drop this meteor on Konoha to force Might Guy to use the 8 inner gates. I know it's so harsh that Might Guy won't be able to use it again without proper rest. Now hand over those 2, said Juryoku. What are you talking about? Asked Jiraiya with a straight face. You know very well what I'm talking about. I can't sense their presence in Konoha, so this means only one thing. You hid them, said Juryoku. If I hid them, then with your sensing abilities, you could have easily found them, said Jiraiya. You are right, but you can hide them in the gourd toad that you summoned, and the inner space of the gourd toad is isolated from the outside world, so I can't sense inside the toad, said Juryoku. After hearing the words of Juryoku, Jiraiya's face changed, and he said, You seem to know too much about me and my summons. I have done my research. Now, I will say it one last time, if you stand in my way to complete this, then I will crush you, said Juryoku while throwing the head of Danzo in the direction of his father's grave and drew out his sword. Seeing this, Jiraiya immediately pressed his hand on the ground, and suddenly the surroundings changed, forming a fleshy enclosure. Jiraiya had used summoning, Toad Mouth Bind. Juryoku, who was standing above the fleshy ground, found it difficult to stand steadily as it was very slippery and sticky even when he tried using chakra to stand properly. Jiraiya, whose hand was touching the fleshy ground, controlled the flesh around Juryoku to attack him from every direction. However, Juryoku easily cut those flesh tentacles and defended himself. Nevertheless, it was quite irritating because closing in on Jiraiya was almost impossible. It was like a domain to Jiraiya, where he could control the flesh however he saw fit, attack from any direction, and displace his position or Juryoku's position. Jiraiya boy, try to trap him inside the esophagus, as he will not be able to use any kind of move to escape from here, and he will surely exhaust himself. Then you can capture him easily, said Fukasaku. Jiraiya nodded in agreement and continued controlling the flesh to capture Juryoku. On the other hand, Juryoku became irritated, covered his hand in armament haki, and slowly formed a Rasengan in his hand. Jiraiya noticed the Rasengan and blurted out, How do you know Rasengan? Jiraiya was surprised and shocked because currently, in the whole world, only he and Kakashi knew how to create Rasengan. You don't need to know, said Juryoku and continued to create Rasengan. He added wind nature to it, and as soon as he did this, Jiraiya was shocked. Even he had not been able to figure out how to add chakra nature to Rasengan. It's not like he never tried, but Rasengan always went out of control as soon as chakra nature was added to it. Finally, Juryoku created the wind release, Rasen Shuriken. Jiraiya tried to trap Juryoku, but how could the flesh contend against Rasen Shuriken? As soon as the flesh came near Rasen Shuriken, with just a slight wave, the flesh was obliterated, and Juryoku cut through the wall of the flesh structure, completely leaving the esophagus of the giant toad. From the outside, people only saw a cuboidal shape of flesh. As no one was standing between Juryoku and Jiraiya, Jiraiya was able to trap only Juryoku without affecting anyone else. While the people outside were anticipating the result, suddenly there was a loud sound of cutting, and a part of the flesh was torn apart, with small pieces spreading across the field among the people. All the ninjas saw Juryoku coming out from the fleshy structure. As soon as Juryoku emerged, the flesh structure vanished within seconds with a cloud of smoke. As the flesh structure disappeared, Jiraiya came into view, standing with a solemn look on his face. He immediately used the wild lion's mane technique, causing his hair to grow longer and form the mouth of a tiger that attacked Jiraiya in a biting manner. However, Jiraiya quickly went into Storm Chakra mode and disappeared from his position with incredible speed, reappearing in front of Jiraiya, slashing towards his neck. But Jiraiya was also quick and reacted swiftly, deflecting Jiraiya's attack with his stone sword. Not only did Jiraiya defend himself, but he also wrapped himself in his hair and used the Needle Hell technique, which is one of his deadliest and fastest techniques for close-quarters combat. Jiraiya wasn't to be outdone. As soon as the hair needles came near him, he used Gravity Push, deflecting the hairs from their current trajectory, causing them to spread out and fall to different locations. As a result, some ninjas were also affected, and their bodies were pierced by Jiraiya's hair. Seeing this, Jiraiya felt quite bad, so he immediately said, "Kakashi, take the ninjas from here and retreat, or else they will continuously be affected by the aftermath of the battle." Kakashi nodded, and with the other ninjas, he started retreating. Chapter 57. Soon, all the ninjas who were around Jiraiya and Jiraiya left. As the ninjas were leaving, Jiraiya opened his wooden sandals and went on to stand on all his limbs like a beast. His hands and legs also became thicker, resembling a frog. As soon as Jiraiya transformed into this form, he attacked Jiraiya with full speed. Jiraiya's speed in this form was no joke. He immediately appeared in front of Jiraiya and threw a punch towards him. Although Jiraiya possessed observation haki, he could only defend himself by placing his sword in front of him. Upon the punch of Jiraiya hitting Jiraiya's sword, Jiraiya was dragged along the ground for quite a distance. After stabilizing himself, Jiraiya used gravity 15 times on himself, increasing his weight 15-fold. Despite his increased weight, Jiraiya, with his incredible speed, punched Jiraiya on his chest. As Jiraiya had covered his chest with armament haki, he wasn't hurt much. Even after his increased weight, Jiraiya was thrown quite far away and destroyed many buildings that came in his way. "Haha, do you see how powerful the Toad Sage of Mount Myaboku is?" said Jiraiya while making weird poses. "Shut up. Jiraiya boy, see clearly, he is not injured in the slightest," reprimanded Shima. "You are correct. In Sage mode, you are on a totally different level. Even though, if I want, I can procrastinate this battle and let you consume your chakra so that you cannot maintain your Sage mode. I assure you that you will not be able to harm me in the slightest. However, I am not one who will get continuously beaten without answering in kind," replied Jiraiya to Jiraiya's taunt. As soon as the voice of Jiraiya fell, the EAM mark on his hand lit up, and black lines started spreading throughout his whole body, except his face. Over the past 3 years, when he was outside doing different missions, he had mastered the EAM mark to the 3rd stage. However, for this fight, he didn't need to use the 3rd stage, as the 3 times strength boost that comes from 2nd stage of EAM mark is more than enough to deal with Jiraiya. /N, if you forgot about EAM mark, then refer to CH14. And after Jiraiya used the EAM mark, Jiraiya's face became solemn as he could feel that Jiraiya was more powerful than he was before using the mark. "Is it some kind of curse mark created by Orochimaru that he gave to Jiraiya?" said Jiraiya in confusion. "No, it doesn't seem to be the curse mark of Orochimaru. Instead, it seems as if the limitations of the body have been removed," said Fukasaku. "You mean like the 8 inner gates?" asked Jiraiya. "No, it is more like a thing where a human uses their body to its full potential. It is very different from the 8 inner gates," said Fukasaku. Jiraiya was confused about what happened to Jiraiya, but Jiraiya didn't waste time explaining anything and disappeared from the place. He immediately appeared in front of Jiraiya and punched him in the stomach. This time, it was Jiraiya who was unable to react to Jiraiya's attack and was sent flying, destroying everything in his straight path after being punched by Jiraiya. When the dust settled, Jiraiya punched the debris above him and came out coughing heavily, as he had difficulty breathing. Jiraiya knew that if he wasn't in Sage mode, then it was most likely that he would have been seriously injured. Just as Jiraiya was recovering, Fukasaku suddenly shouted, "Jiraiya boy, buckle up, he is coming. As Fukasaku's voice fell, Jiraiya appeared in front of Jiraiya, flying, and held his head, embedding it in the ground and dragging it forward, creating a straight line. But suddenly, at this moment, a large sword slashed at Jiraiya. It was Gamahiro who attacked Jiraiya from the front. However, Gamahiro kept in mind that Jiraiya could use Jiraiya as a shield, so he also attacked Jiraiya from behind using his another slash. As predicted by Gamahiro, Jiraiya had to leave Jiraiya so that he could defend against Gamahiro's attack. Jiraiya threw away Jiraiya and unsheathed his sword, which was in his left hand, and defended himself from both sword attacks. Obviously, as Jiraiya was in the air using gravity, he wasn't that stable, and on top of that, the size of the sword was huge, making Jiraiya's sword seem like a needle in comparison. As a result, Jiraiya was thrown to the ground but managed to land smoothly without a hard impact due to gravity. After landing, Jiraiya said, "I don't understand where you get the confidence to fight me." After saying that, Jiraiya activated his Storm Chakra mode and disappeared from the place. Suddenly, several white light lines passed through Gamahiro's body, and Gamahiro stood there blankly without moving. Jiraiya was standing behind Gamahiro, sheathing his sword. As soon as Jiraiya sheathed his sword, multiple red lines appeared on Gamahiro's body, and a huge amount of blood gushed from those lines like a fountain. Gamahiro is not some weak toad, he is one of the strongest toads present, and his defenses are as tough as mountains. However, after seeing the amount of blood gushing out from Gamahiro's body, it is clear that the cuts are very deep, and it is unclear if he will even be able to survive this injury. "I am sorry, I can't be any further help in this battle," said Gamahiro as his voice fell, and he disappeared in a cloud of smoke. "I am sorry, hero. Although I am ungraceful, I will surely take revenge for you," said Gamaken as he jumped in Jiraiya's direction. "Gamaken, wait! Don't be impulsive," said Gamabunta, but before his voice could reach Gamaken, he had already taken off towards Jiraiya. In response to Gamaken's attack, Jiraiya covered his sword with armament haki, and his sword was covered in storm chakra as he slashed towards Gamaken's direction. The slash was purple due to armament haki and was very fast. Soon, the slash passed through the middle of Gamaken vertically. Gamaken, who was very close to Jiraiya, continued falling, but suddenly his body, along with his pan, turned into two halves vertically, falling on the two sides of Jiraiya, right and left. Chapter 58, Mr. Gamaken, shouted Jiraiya, raising his hand towards Gamaken's now halved body. "Gamaken! Damn it!" shouted Gamabunta. "Gamaken!" Fukasaku and Shima closed their eyes upon seeing Gamaken's body. "I told you that if you stand in the way of my revenge, this will be the end," said Jiraiya. "Don't you understand what true peace is? Just for the sake of your revenge, you have killed so many people today, causing them more pain than you can imagine," Jiraiya said. "You might be right, maybe the pain they felt is greater than mine. I was only 1 year old when my father died. You know, my foolish father, who didn't even know how to pacify a child, used to show hand signs of ninjutsu and teach his son, who was just a few months old, ninjutsu verbally. The happiness and satisfaction I used to see on his face were adorable and cute. And then, you see his lifeless body with cut marks. It's like a curse that came with my photographic memory. I never forget things," explained Jiraiya. "Jiraiya, Konoha hasn't given me anything except a few friends. Even with them, I maintained a distance because I knew a day like today would come. I warn you, Jiraiya, that if I can't kill those 2 pieces of garbage today because of you and these toads, then there will be one less holy place in this world," said Jiraiya, gripping his sword tightly. Jiraiya's face was solemn, as he couldn't figure out a way to defeat Jiraiya. He was completely out of options right now. "Fukasaku-sama, what do you think we should do now?" asked Jiraiya. "Jiraiya, boy, fight with him in close quarters." "I will launch a surprise attack on him," said Fukasaku. "Are you going to use that attack?" asked Jiraiya in confusion. "Yes, only that attack can surprise him in the fight and give us an opportunity to win," said Fukasaku. "A person who has achieved nothing in his whole life, just chasing after peace and living in a dream bubble of your own peace. How dare you teach me the real meaning of peace, said Juryoku, disappearing from his place. The impact of his departure created a crater, and stones and pieces of the ground were also thrown into the air. Jiraiya boy, be ready to dodge his attack and leave the rest to me, said Fukasaku. Jiraiya nodded, and based on the experience accumulated from countless battles and barrier, canopy method formation, he predicted the path of Juryoku's attack and dodged accordingly. However, Juryoku possesses observation haki, so how could Jiraiya escape from Juryoku's attack? Just as he was nearing Jiraiya, an invisible force suddenly struck him. It was an attack made by Fukasaku. Fukasaku used Frog Kata to attack Juryoku, and since this attack is impossible to see and sense, Juryoku wasn't able to react. Juryoku's speed was incredibly fast, and Fukasaku's attack acted like a speed bump, making him very unstable. He crashed into several buildings, destroying many houses. Fukasaku's attack wasn't potent enough to harm Juryoku directly, but the destruction was a result of his own speed. Fukasaku had utilized Juryoku's speed against him. Suddenly, debris from the house where Juryoku had fallen began to rise, revealing Juryoku as he emerged. I had heard that with age comes knowledge and shrewdness. And today, I was able to witness this firsthand. Your calculations prove that you haven't been idle for the past 800 years, said Juryoku, wiping red blood from his mouth. Haha, it's amusing. You know, I've only been injured twice in my entire life. The first time was when I injured myself, and the second was today, at the hands of some small toad who means nothing to me, said Juryoku as he walked toward Jiraiya. Rubble rose around him, creating a sphere above him. Ma, we have to use that, Fukasaku said to Shima. No, I dislike using that move. My throat gets sore after using it, Shima replied, clearly against Fukasaku's idea. What are you both talking about? Asked Jiraiya in confusion. We can use a jinjutsu called demonic illusion, toad confrontation chant. It's a sound-based jinjutsu that can be effective against Juryoku. However, we need time to prepare it, and considering how he knows so much about you, us toads, it's very possible that he knows about this technique as well. So, it's clear that he will likely attack us and prevent us from completing it, explained Fukasaku. You're right, but it's not like I don't know how to run, especially in the village where I grew up as a child. You just get prepared, said Jiraiya. He then used the barrier, canopy method formation to its full potential, covering an area of almost 100 meters in radius, and positioned himself on all fours like a toad. As Jiraiya began to prepare, Fukasaku and Shima started singing in unison, attempting to synchronize their voices for the demonic illusion, toad confrontation chant. Juryoku's expression changed as soon as he heard this voice. He knew that Fukasaku and Shima were about to use the demonic illusion, toad confrontation chant. He immediately moved to attack Jiraiya, but Jiraiya swiftly evaded and didn't stop running. Seeing Jiraiya in motion, Gamabunta also utilized his sword to obstruct Juryoku's path, assisting Jiraiya. Juryoku manipulated the large sphere made from the rubble of the shattered houses, which was hovering above his head. He hurled it forcefully at Gamabunta, and upon impact, Gamabunta was flung several meters away, causing destruction along its path. Following that, Juryoku continued his pursuit of Jiraiya. As Jiraiya had lived in Konoha and remembered every nook and cranny of the village, he used various routes. Juryoku, on the other hand, had never wandered through Konoha for such purposes, considering it unnecessary and a waste of time. At times, Jiraiya utilized the sewer lines of Konoha, while at others, he ran on the surface. Throughout, he avoided running in a straight line, opting for a zigzag pattern without any predictable path. Other ninjas who had retreated also witnessed this chase. Although both Juryoku and Jiraiya appeared as blurs to them, they were able to discern that it was Jiraiya who was running and Juryoku who was in pursuit. Was that Juryoku? Ino asked, glancing at Shikamaru. Seemed like it, but I can't be certain, Shikamaru replied, scratching his head. Let's go and see, Ino suggested, running in the direction of the commotion. What a drag, sighed Shikamaru, following Ino. Soon, Jiraiya came to a stop, and Jirioku, who had closed in on him, also halted, raising his sword. Strangely, Jirioku stood there blankly. Chapter 59, Jirioku stood still, holding his sword and swinging it in the direction of Jiraiya. Ha, is he trapped in a genjutsu right now? Asked Jiraiya. Yes, immediately end him. If he breaks through the genjutsu, all our efforts will be in vain, said Fukasaku urgently. Jiraiya nodded, drew his stone sword, and was about to end Jirioku's life. Just as Jiraiya's sword was nearing Jirioku's heart, Ino also arrived at the scene and shouted, "No!" Jiraiya glanced at Ino but continued without stopping. Seeing this, Ino wanted to go and intervene, but she was held back by Yamanaka Inoichi. "Let go of me, Dad." "Why aren't you stopping this?" shouted Ino. Inoichi shook his head, knowing there was no way to save Jirioku now, considering what Jirioku had done up to this point. Just as Jiraiya was about to end Jirioku's life and his sword touched Jirioku's chest, a massive repulsive force emanated from Jirioku's body. Jiraiya was thrown back like a rag doll, and the force was so powerful that buildings within a 50-meter radius from Jirioku were completely destroyed, and the land was flattened. Jirioku panted heavily and knelt on one knee, using his sword as support. In his final moments, Jirioku employed Conqueror's Haki to break through the Toad Sage's Genjutsu. However, since the Genjutsu had also blocked his spirit, his Observation Haki was affected. As soon as he regained his senses through Observation Haki and saw Jiraiya's sword about to pierce his heart, in desperation, he pushed gravity to its limits, causing significant damage. This move depleted his stamina considerably, and the Genjutsu's effect left his spirit weakened, forcing him to kneel on one knee. Jirioku stood back up and began walking toward Jiraiya, dragging his sword along the ground. Jiraiya, buried under the rubble of the shattered buildings, managed to emerge, seriously injured. His head was bleeding profusely, and he had sustained internal injuries due to the impact of gravity push. Despite his injuries, he stood his ground, defying the pain caused by the gravity push's impact. Fukasaku and Shima stood on the ground beside Jiraiya, not on his shoulders as usual. The ninjas of Konoha witnessed this scene, observing Jirioku approaching the seriously injured Jiraiya. Kakashi's eyes narrowed, a surge of determination coursing through him. Lightning crackled around his hand, and with a fierce resolve, he unleashed the Chidori. The air sizzled as he lunged, a bolt of electric blue aimed straight at Jirioku. But Jirioku's response was swift, his blade meeting the Chidori with a resounding clash. Metal met lightning in a clash, and for a moment, the very earth seemed to tremble. Yet, Jirioku's skill was undeniable. With an almost casual grace, he deflected Kakashi's assault, his sword dancing with deadly precision. Kakashi's hand, usually as unyielding as steel during a Chidori, met unexpected resistance. Despite the force behind the attack, Jirioku emerged untouched. Before Kakashi could fully process the counter, Jirioku struck. A lightning-fast kick landed squarely in Kakashi's abdomen, the impact knocking the wind out of him. Even with his Sharingan, Kakashi couldn't entirely anticipate the sheer force of Jirioku's blow. The hit landed true, a testament to Jirioku's raw power. Amidst the flurry of blows, Kakashi's Chidori found a mark, slicing through Jirioku's leg. The Chidori's inherent sharpness left its mark, a jagged cut that would have been deeper if not for Jirioku's mastery over armament Haki. In the midst of the clash, a different Umbu Shinobi surged forward towards Jirioku, brandishing a sword. Swift as a shadow, Jirioku skillfully intercepted the assault, redirecting its trajectory. Responding with precision, he executed a decisive slash across the chest of Umbu Ninja, causing the Umbu Ninja to collapse motionless onto the earth. 3 additional Umbu Ninja appeared on the scene, and one among them executed the lightning release, 4-pillar bind technique. Instantly, 4 sturdy earth pillars surged from the ground, encasing Jirioku within their confines. Bolts of lightning crackled relentlessly toward him. But who was this enigmatic figure called Raijin no Jirioku? How could such lightning even faze him, especially when he was shielded by the impenetrable armament Haki? and he himself is master of storm release. The assault crashed upon him, yet he stood unyielding. However, the onslaught didn't cease. Another Umbu ninja harnessed the earth release, dropping lid technique, releasing a massive lid resembling a boar's shape from a significant altitude. The colossal lid descended, aiming to ensnare Jirioku. "Stay vigilant and fix your gaze on him," one of the Umbu ninja commanded. But as those words left the Umbu's lips, the enormous earthen lid shattered with remarkable swiftness. Jirioku, moving at an extraordinary speed, manifested right before another Umbu ninja, promptly severing their head. Gasping for breath, Jirioku readied himself to charge at the remaining Umbu ninja, his energy pulsating with determination. Just as he was about to make his move, a figure materialized before him. It was Ibiki, a seasoned Umbu, blocking his path with an air of caution. "Where do you think you're going?" "Underestimating Umbu is a grave mistake," Ibiki warned, his voice firm. Ibiki used, summoning, Iron Maiden. With a swift motion, Ibiki's hand moved, and he unleashed an attack with a kunai. Jirioku reacted swiftly, slicing through Ibiki with ease. Yet, the Ibiki he had struck transformed into wood through the artful use of the substitution technique. As the wooden facade revealed itself, a massive iron Maneki Nico materialized, enclosing Jirioku and binding him with chains. The colossal feline began descending into the ground, but before it could progress further, it was abruptly cleaved in two. Jirioku emerged from within, breathing heavily. "It's becoming clear that my endurance is waning. I must withdraw now, or I won't have the strength for further clashes," Jirioku admitted, his breaths labored. In the present moment, Jirioku acknowledged his limitations. His chakra reserves weren't depleted, yet they were only at half capacity. Following this fierce confrontation, his body would demand a substantial recovery period. Moreover, he had a crucial rendezvous ahead, one that required him to be at his peak. Failure to meet these demands would force him into retreat. After contemplation, Jirioku reached a resolution. His gaze locked onto the horizon as he spoke with unwavering resolve. "Jiraiya, it appears you're resolute in shielding Konoha's elder duo. Very well. I will honor my part of the pact and wipe Mount Maiboku from the annals of the ninja realm." With his words hanging in the air, Jirioku's hands weaved intricate signs, the rhythm punctuated by a resounding clap. In an instant, a shroud of clouds engulfed the entirety of Konoha, an eerie curtain veiling the village from sight. From within this enigmatic mist, a majestic figure materialized, a dragon formed of wind and lightning, its formidable frame stretching almost 20 meters in length. Storm Release, Storm Dragon. Chapter 60. The Storm Dragon appeared suddenly, swiftly swinging its claws towards the Umbu ninjas encircling Jirioku. With each swipe of the Storm Dragon's claws, 3 enormous wind blades were generated, assaulting the Umbu ninjas. Upon seeing the wind slashes hurtling towards them, the Umbu ninjas promptly retreated. Meanwhile, the Storm Dragon redirected its assault towards Jiraiya. "Protect Master Jiraiya. Deploy an earth wall as a shield and counter the Storm Dragon with water and fire release ninjutsu," Kakashi shouted. Following his command, the skilled earth release practitioners from Konoha swiftly erected an earth wall, which gradually formed multiple layers. However, the earth wall struggled to halt the relentless onslaught of the Storm Dragon conjured by Jirioku, fueled by his dwindling chakra. Despite diminishing in size with each impact, the Storm Dragon persisted. Observing this, other ninjas proficient in fire release techniques unleashed an array of fire release attacks, targeting the Storm Dragon. Similarly, those skilled in water release utilized water-based jutsu against the creature, causing its size to shrink significantly. Nonetheless, the most impactful blows against the Storm Dragon were delivered through the combined efforts of the Konoha ninjas, particularly Kakashi and Asuma. Kakashi employed the Chidori to carve through the Storm Dragon, while Asuma harnessed the fire release, ash pile burning technique. These two assaults proved the most devastating. Concurrently, additional Umbu ninjas collaborated, employing joint ninjutsu to combat the Storm Dragon. Finally, only a lump of chakra remained from the Storm Dragon, yet it was the most destructive part. "Retreat! It's going to explode!" Kakashi's voice rang out. Upon Kakashi's command, all the ninjas immediately withdrew using the body flicker technique. The chakra lump exploded, unleashing sharp wind blades and thunder that obliterated everything within a 10-meter radius. When the explosion subsided, horror was etched on everyone's faces. Just one maneuver from Jiraiya had compelled them to collaborate in order to confront it. As they searched for Jiraiya's whereabouts, he was nowhere to be found. Jiraiya's final action wouldn't have been necessary if he hadn't been so thoroughly drained. Exhausted, he needed a maneuver to keep everyone occupied, ensuring his successful retreat. Jiraiya took a seat on a broken stone, flanked by Fukasaku and Shima. Jiraiya contemplated, "Sage, did I make the right decision today by saving the two Konoha elders?" "Don't worry, Jiraiya boy. We toads of Mount Myaboku aren't feeble. You can have confidence," reassured Fukasaku. "I understand that with his current strength, he poses minimal threat to Mount Myaboku. However, the issue is that he's only 13 years old and has ample room to grow in strength," Jiraiya mused. Fukasaku and Shima exchanged glances. "We can't do much about the future. We can only inform the Great Toad Sage about this matter, and if something like this were to happen again, the Great Toad Sage should notify us." Jiraiya nodded and summoned the gourd toad, retrieving both Koharu and Hamura from its stomach. Once Koharu and Hamura emerged, they beheld the state of Konoha, which had deteriorated further due to Orochimaru's implementation of the Konoha collapse plan. Was all of this orchestrated by Hyuga Jiraiya? Koharu inquired. "Yes, and we have you to thank for it," replied Jiraiya, his expression grim. "Jiraiya, now isn't the time to discuss this. In the absence of a Hokage, the village needs leadership, and someone like you is the best fit for the role," Hamura asserted. "I won't assume the position of Hokage, and you're well aware of it. I'm not apprehending you solely because I wish to avoid further destabilizing the village, already reeling from the loss of our teachers. What to do with you will be determined by the next Hokage," Jiraiya stated firmly. Hamura and Koharu fell silent after absorbing Jiraiya's words. However, Koharu eventually inquired, "Do you have someone in mind?" "Someone whose strength rivals mine, and whose accomplishments are no less impressive, Tsunade," Jiraiya responded. "What are your intentions regarding Jiraiya?" Hamura questioned. "I don't know. Let's leave this for the Hokage to handle. I'm quite injured, so I need to go to the hospital," Jiraiya stated. Hamura and Koharu nodded, and Jiraiya departed for the hospital. On the rooftop of a building, Ino was seated, her gaze fixed on Inoichi. She questioned, "Why would Jiraiya do something like this?" Inoichi sighed, proceeding to explain everything to Ino. If they were indeed at fault, then they should have faced consequences. "It's troubling that Jiraiya was unfairly blamed," Ino remarked with a sorrowful expression. Inoichi shook his head, recognizing that Ino's emotions were driving her response. Being part of a family closely associated with Konoha's administration, Ino had gained insights into the workings of politics. Shikamaru and Shikaku approached the spot where Ino and Inoichi were. Shikamaru voiced his thoughts. "I had anticipated that Jiraiya would be remarkably powerful, given that I had placed him at a level where he could contend with the third Hokage. However, I hadn't foreseen that he would achieve victory over Master Jiraiya, who is unquestionably mightier than the present third Hokage and could have even matched him in his prime." /N, not much is extensively detailed about Hiruzen's prime. If he possessed greater physical strength and chakra than he does presently, the disparity in strength wouldn't be overly substantial, unless he also mastered Sage Mode, though I'm inclined to believe he didn't. Share your thoughts on Hiruzen's strength. Yeah, his strength has reached a level that even we couldn't have predicted. His most fearsome ability is his aura alone, which is enough to make Jinin and Chunin faint, Shikaku stated. Ino, don't be overly concerned. We'll locate Jiraiya and do our best to bring him back, alright? Shikamaru reassured. Upon hearing this, Ino's memory was jogged, and she exclaimed, "Is the Jokin of Fire Country still in Konoha?" "Yes, she's being kept in a safe house within Konoha," Shikaku confirmed. "I wish to meet with her," Ino declared. "Why?" Shikaku inquired. She might possess knowledge about Juryoku, and only she can provide answers to my questions, Ino explained. Coincidentally, I was planning to check on her, so you can join me, Shikaku offered. That's the end of this tale for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in part 3. Peace.